Ya da da da. Ba da da do do do. Dee, 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 dee. There we go. I never know how long it's going to be before my actual sound starts coming through on the strip between me pressing the button to start and actually before the actual stream starts. So, and I keep getting it wrong. So I thought I'd just sing a song for a while this time. Hello! Sound off if anyone's turned up. Not sure anyone will be turned up yet. Welcome to part 3 of the From the Ashes. It is, isn't it? Forgotten. No, AFR. Why did I think it was FTA? No, AFR. Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. Set review / react. It's a great name. It's a very snappy name. It just really trips off the tongue. I'm really glad I chose that. We've been through all of the funky stuff, haven't we? You know, we've been through the Planeswalkers and the Vanguards and the Dungeons! And so all there is left to do is finish off going through all the cards now. I honestly can't remember how far I got. Let's click through, see if anyone's shown up yet. Let's say hello in the chat room, like that. And let us... I should have charged my phone up, shouldn't I? 60%, that seems all right. We'll do all right with 60%. I'll plug it in if it goes beep at me later on. Walk around my room tethered. Let's head back to the card list and see if we can figure out where the hell we were when last we finished. My food delivery turned up, in fact. That's what happened, wasn't it? So, be quite a ways. Dungeon map now, we're well past D. We got to at least F, didn't we? I don't remember Great Axe, don't remember Goblins, Gelatinous Cube, that's cool. Fighter class. This looks like where we were. Oh, yes, I just found it. Thank you, Matthew. I've literally just found it. What were we saying about the fighter class? We were saying we didn't particularly like it, I think. Can't remember. Can't be asked to do it again. Go and listen to the last one if you want to know what I think. If I want to know what I think, that's what I'm going to do. Is go and listen to the last one. I'm not going to expend any more energy on that. Let's move on to Find the Path. When you cast this card, venture into the dungeon. Then your first creature gains Enchanted. When it attacks, convert 2 gems to green. Shit! Converting gems at the wrong time. Single activation of entering to the dungeon. 10 mana. Awful common card. Flumph. Cool. Now, this is not a creature from the monster manual. I wonder if this is in... It looks weird enough to be in Monster Manual 2. The way that AD&D worked back in the day was that the Monster Manual, basic Monster Manual, had the more sensible creatures, and then the Fiend Folio had sillier creatures, and then the Monster Manual 2 had the bloody ridiculous creatures in it. And let's face it, a creature called a Flumph, which is a walking jellyfish, a walking land jellyfish, is silly enough to have been in the Monster Manual 2. Might have been in the Fiend Folio, I don't know. I never owned the Fiend Folio in the Monster Manual 2. My friend Chris had those. I was very jealous, and I used to borrow them off him and read them a lot. But I've only got the 3 basic books, the Dungeon Master's Guide, the Player's Guide, and the Monster Manual. Regenerate 3. Okay. Again, they probably think they're being clever there, don't they? Because it's like it's a 0/6 defender. Yeah. So it's going to take some damage, isn't it? Oh, yeah. All of those 1/1 and 2/2 creatures that everyone plays all the time are going to smack into that wall. And then Flumph is going to regenerate. Also, though, I'm not sure they know what regenerate means. I'm not sure they remember what regenerate means, because regenerate is an ability that triggers at the start of your turn. And I've seen activated gems that give things regenerate in the past. So I think they just put it on there. When this creature is dealt damage, each player draws a card. Then the last card in your hand gains 4 mana. That's probably broke. There's a card around at the moment that draws It's a white card and it costs 7 mana, and you both draw 3 cards, and then you're supposed to get 4 mana in each of the cards, and your opponent isn't supposed to get 4 mana in each of the cards. And he does at the moment because it's broke. So all of this will be broke as well because of code reuse. Don't like it though. And this is a rare, for God's sake. You know, even if you get the mana and your opponent doesn't get the mana, taking up a creature slot for a bloody 0/6 for 10 mana, it's pants, isn't it? Renewal 6, that's if you gain 6 life. Well, there's nothing on this card that's going to mean you gain 6 life. At the end of your turn, all the cards in your hand gain 4 mana. I mean, okay, that's an interesting effect, but you've got to trigger it with something. And your 0/6 creature has got to not be dead. You know? It's all very well giving a 0/6 creature regenerate 3, but pretty much any tournament creature that you meet in actual gameplay is going to fucking walk right through that thing. Paff! It's gone. Bits of jellyfish everywhere. Very shit rare, actually. Fly. Target creature gains flying and enchanted. I could have sworn we had flying. No, it's Stratus Walk. My memory is pinging from back in the very early days of playing Magic Puzzle Quest, and there was a card called Stratus Walk, wasn't it? Which cost 3 mana, nice and cheap, gave a creature flying, draw a card. Wasn't an awful card to be, well, for me to be playing with as my collection was developing. Gains flying and enchanted. When this creature deals combat damage to your opponent's planeswalker, the first card with Venture into the Dungeon in your hand gains 5 mana. I mean, that's weird. I wonder if Fly in a card with a name like Fly seems like it should be a fairly generic card. I wonder if the actual card in paper does this bizarre niche Venture into the Dungeon effect. I mean, 5 mana is a few. But I think generally I don't really like it, actually. No. Forsworn Paladin. 9 mana, 3/3 Menace. Oh, what a waste. Look, they've put a little icon on for Menace. They could have written that somewhere on the card and wasted all of our time reading it. They've just they've made it a little icon. When you activate a loyalty ability, you lose 3 life, then create a gold token. We don't care. Then target creature you control. I'm doing that then thing again. I don't like the then thing. It means something very definite to them. Apparently, if you go through the, I'm just in the process of going through this on the forum at the moment. If you go to the one of their FAQs, one of their many FAQs they have, they've got like a glossary of terms at the moment. And if you've got a card that says do A, then do B, it means a very specific thing. It means, well, it means don't do the second thing unless you can do the first thing. Some cards, you see, will do the first thing and then try and do the second thing, you know, try and do either thing. If it says then, it means, well, don't do the second thing if it can't do the first thing. But some cards with then written on it, in exactly the same way, you can't even use the ability if you can't do the first thing or the second thing. It's, I don't know. I'm collating data on how, what's the word? It's not inconsequential. Inconsistent. Thank you. How inconsistent it is. Anyway, there's nothing really to do with this card. Let's carry on reading. The creature you control, target creature you control, it's +1/+1 and gains Death Touch and Berserker. Right. If it was hired, that creature gets +3/+0 instead. Yeah, I mean, just a lot of the best thing that card's going to do is kill a creature for you, isn't it? You know, it's got Death Touch and Berserker. It's going to die doing it. Frankly, you don't care. Why does it need to get +3/+0? If it's going to get +1/+0 and Death Touch and Berserker, why does it even need to get +3/+0? Not going to make any difference to your opponent's life total. That extra 2 points of damage. And if it's got Death Touch, it's going to kill a creature anyway. It's just, you know, this is textbook Octagon, isn't it? Just full of words when less would do. Froghemoth. I like it. It's got 3 eyes. Excellent. When this creature deals combat damage to your opponent's planeswalker with haste, haste is a good ability, isn't it? Bit expensive for a 5/5. Creature deals combat damage to your opponent's planeswalker. Exile the first 4 cards of your opponent's graveyard. Okay, that's kind of a nothing ability. For each creature card exiled this way, this creature gets +1/+1 permanently. Okay, for each non-creature card exiled this way, you gain 1 life. Yeah, okay. They kind of wasted that card, making it uncommon though, you know? If they'd have just pumped up a load of the numbers, make it cost 8 mana, make it an 8 mana 8/8, make it mythic. Oh, hi Mad, how you doing? Mad Wren's turned up to say hello. Yeah, they can make exactly that card, change all the numbers on it to be better, and you'd end up playing it in some formats, maybe, you know. I mean, admittedly, most of what it does is beef with its power and toughness and gaining power and toughness. Gaining life isn't much. Exiling cards from the graveyard isn't much. But yeah, turn it into a beast, it might see play. As it is, it will not. Gelatinous cube. They're fun monsters, aren't they? Gelatinous cubes, just wandering around like a big hoover, keeping the dungeon clean. Who thought that up? I mean, you know, we know that Gary Gygax. Is it Gygax or Gyjax? I always used to say Gyjax. I think it's because I'm British and we favour the soft G, but it's probably Gygax. We know all of those guys, Dave Arnson, Gary Gygax. They must have been heavily into the weed, sitting around playing Dungeons and Dragons. So yeah, I think the development of some of the early creatures in Dungeons and Dragons, probably, you know, really just guys sitting around getting stoned like, what about this? You know, I mean, they made a creature which was a chest. It looks like a chest, only it eats you when you try and open it. Yeah, and they didn't just say, well, you know, that's a thing you encounter in one specific dungeon. No, they made it a whole species. Yeah, they made it a whole species of creature. How do they even mate? How do they even meet each other? Yeah, and get together. Maybe they're a plant life. Do they release spores? And the spores mingle, and that's how. What does a baby mimic look like? Does it look like a small chest straight away? Do you look at it and you think, oh, there's probably a key in there, and then it bites your finger off? And if they do release spores, that's no good, is it? Because the gelatinous cube is going to be wandering around the corridors cleaning up all the spores. Anyway, where the fuck was I? Creature Ooze. When this creature enters the battlefield, exile target opposing creature into your exile. Sweet, like it already. Then this creature gets +X +X. X is that creature's power. Wow. This last sentence written on the card is probably going to be a bad one, isn't it? Because everything sounds great so far. When this creature dies or is exiled from the battlefield, move all creatures you don't own from your exile to the battlefield under your opponent's control. Dangerous, Octagon. Yeah, exiling your opponent's creatures into your exile. You're doing that thing again, aren't you? Like, WotC would never do that. WotC like to keep their rules very rigidly defined, and you can't, you know, put your opponent's cards into your hand and into your exile. But you wanted to do a thing there. I see that. You wanted to do a thing there, and the easiest way for you to do the thing was to exile your opponent's creatures into your exile zone. Okay. Hope it doesn't come back to bite you on the ass one day. I mean, we all play with cards all the time in MTGPQ, don't we? That we don't quite know what they're going to do. Not all the time, because, you know, our regular decks that we play, we generally know what the cards are going to do. But whenever you put a new card in a deck, especially if it's got a lot of words in it, you always know there's a fair chance you're going to have, you know, misread something, or some of the rules are going to interact in a weird way, and it's going to do something weird in your neighborhood. Move all creatures you don't own from your exile to the battlefield under your opponent's control. So best case scenario is you stick this in play, eat a creature, get a nice big creature in play. Doesn't have haste, never mind necessarily. And then when this gets shot, quite likely to happen, he gets his creature back. Which is not the end of the world, really, if he just gets that one creature back. But if he gets a bunch of creatures back, that's more of a problem. On the other hand, I mean, so far, as I understand it, the only creatures that... This is the only creature that puts that exiles your opponent's creatures into your exile, yeah? So he's only going to get the creatures back with a gelatinous cube that you exile with a gelatinous cube. So it's kind of 1 for 1, isn't it? Anyway, I basically don't like it. I don't like any effect like this that like temporarily kills something. Not when there are actual effects in the game that permanently kills things. I don't like things that temporarily kill things. But it's not the worst card that I've ever seen. I say that a lot, don't I? Gloomstalker. As long as you have dungeon spoils, this creature gets double strike. Oh, right. You see, I didn't even bother to read this card. When I was playing the training mode the other day, I noticed that when I got the dungeon spoils, I noticed this creature got double strike. It just popped up on his card. And me being me, I just assumed that the double strike that creature got must have been part of the cool dungeon spoils. Which would be good, wouldn't it? Just giving a creature, even if you didn't, you know, control directly which one it was, just giving one of your creatures double strike when you got the dungeon spoils, that would seem to be a good reason to walk through the dungeon. No, so apparently I don't actually know what any of the dungeon spoils are. I suppose I could go and look. I mean, I can't look at what the one in the Tomb of Annihilation does, can I? Because it's a hypertext within hypertext. We know about that. But yeah, anyway, obviously this card is shit. That was just a little rambling aside. Jesus Christ. Do you even think? Octagon, when you make these cards, why would I want a 2/2 to become a 3/3 if I already have 2 buffed creatures in play? Use your brains. Goblin King! Groovy, he looks pretty awesome as well. I kind of like that picture. When this creature attacks with his bravery, roll a d20. Once 10, create 3 goblin tokens. Oh, I like that. At the bottom end of the scale, already creating 3 goblin tokens. Everything hopefully will get better from now on, yeah? 11 to 19. Oh, okay, your goblin creatures get +5, +0 and gain menace until end of turn. You see, you'd like it if it was creating 3 goblin tokens, and then if you rolled high, you got more goblin tokens, wouldn't you? You know, so... But you've got a fair chance of you playing this Goblin King, and then on the next turn, you've got like a 50% chance-ish that it's just this guy attacking with his extra +5, +0. And menace! Yes, they fucking love menace, don't they? Yes, let's give everything menace. Tell you what, Octagon, if it makes you happy, just give all cards in the game menace. Yeah? Just go for it. Why not? Just go through every card. Go back through all of the old cards that they used to be as well. Just give everything menace. You'll be happy then, won't you? You can sleep easy if everything's got menace. 20, reinforce your goblin creatures. Right, well, you don't really want to reinforce goblin tokens, do you? That's crap. And reinforcing this guy, another +4, +4. Pack tactics, roll a d20 2 times instead. Right. So, he's going to create some tokens, Might take him a while sometimes, but there's your 2 creatures. He's got an ability on him that buffs those 2 creatures. Sadly, the ability that buffs the 2 creatures that he generates happens too late, doesn't it? So he can't trigger pack tactics on his own at all. So, bit poo. Don't like him. Like the picture though. I mean, definitely that shouldn't be a masterpiece. Definitely shouldn't be a masterpiece. And again, why has it got bravery? They threw it on there. Bravery and menace. Just make up some more. Knock yourselves out. Your UI team who don't do anything, they just sit around doing nothing. Just have them just draw random icons. Give them random names. That'll be nice. Goblin Morningstar. One of those equip 1 cards. Don't like equip 1 cards. What would be wrong? What would be wrong with this card having equip 2? Sod it! What would be wrong with it having equip 3? What would be wrong with that? Nothing. Do it. Do that thing. Your first creature gets +2/+0 on trample. Yeah, it's not particularly good. When it enters the board, roll a d20. Gain a goblin token. Gain a goblin token. And it gets haste and +2/+0. But that's only when it enters the board. It's creating one single 1/1 dude. And it might have haste. It's better than a common creature, isn't it? That's what you can say about that card. Oh, mind flayers. Don't, whatever you do, don't Google mind flayer porn online. Don't do that thing. Yeah? Because it goes to some dark places. The internet loves mind flayers. Does it love them? It has a complicated relationship with mind flayers, definitely. Anyway, Grazilax, Illithid Scholar, is flaying the shit out of that guy's mind, definitely. When a creature you control... Oh, he's a legendary named Mind Flayer. They probably haven't called him a Mind Flayer specifically so that people who come across this card don't end up Googling them. When a creature you control becomes blocked, right, pointless, you may return that creature to your hand. Okay, all right, so yeah, so the point of that is he's saving the creature, but not very well. Could just phase it out, couldn't he? Exile it, bring it back in, be better. And creatures don't get blocked anyway, we know that, and he's too small. I'm not liking this card so far. When a creature you control deals combat damage to your opponent's planeswalker, right, here we go. Draw a card, it gains 4 mana. Okay, that's passable, isn't it? So when you ignore all of that rubbish, all the rubbish early stuff, like that first sentence, and the fact that it's too expensive, you basically get down to the fact that it's a Jessian Thief that puts a decent amount of mana into the card. Yeah, too expensive, that's all I'd say about that. It's okay. Again, you know, a 9 mana, that'd be I could see myself playing the shit out of that card if it was 9 mana. I don't play Jessian Thief all the time, but I do play it in some events. I believe I've got one in Seize the Day. I think I'm playing, oh, it might be a Starfish, but it's the same type of thing. Yeah, 9 mana, I could see myself playing that a lot. 14 mana, I think it's probably too expensive and I will not bother. Not especially when, right, 14 mana, at 15 mana, you've got Morden Canaan, haven't you? See, there's your problem right there. Yeah, you compare this card to Morden Canaan, and this card is clearly a hell of a lot worse. Great Axe. There you go. Equip 3. How hard was that? It's on a common card as well. I mean, yeah, I get that you've increased the cost of it as well. But look at that. It costs 12. Equip 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. It's better than 8 divided by 1, isn't it? I'm pretty sure you could knock that cost down even further, Octagon. Yeah, I think you could make it cost 9 and equip 3, and it still wouldn't be too broken to be a common. Your first creature gets +4/+0. You know, that's one of the better common cards. Not tournament playable, but yeah, well done. Maybe they heard me. Maybe you don't think they're listening to me and quickly designing cards as we go along, are they? Oh shit, he's talking about mimics now. What the fuck? Let's make a mimic. We'll make a mimic quick and it'll scroll up the screen and then you can review it. That'd be good if they were designing cards in real time. I mean, they probably spend about that much time designing cards anyway, don't they? You know, somebody says something and they think, yeah, there's your card, done. Start the clock. Stop the clock. Look, I designed the card in 5 seconds. It's done. I'm a genius. I'm off for lunch now. Green dragon. Too small. Destroy the first opposing creature that's dealt damage. Yeah. Okay, I mean, I get it. They don't want to, because it's green, they don't want it to just say destroy the first opposing creature. But that would have made it a card, wouldn't it? Let's face it. Instead of trash. And that pretty much is trash. Yeah. I think we're agreed on that. Gretchen Titchwillow. Hello, Gretchen Titchwillow. Halfling Druid. 1/6 defender. Don't like. Beginning of your turn, if the first card in your hand is a land, against 4 mana, otherwise draw a card. I kind of don't get this. This looks very similar to a card we've had in Strixhaven called, she called Zimone? I believe she was called Zimone, and I believe she was green and blue, and she cost 6 mana, and she was a 2/3. Yeah? And if you had a land in your hand, you gave it 4 mana. So she was cheaper. She had similar comparable abilities, and most importantly of it all, she didn't just drop dead because she had defender. They didn't even have the decency to give this card vigilance, did they? It's so weird that this card is so much like a card that they've literally just designed, and yet so much worse. I don't get it. You know, they've pumped the health up. They've made it a 1/6, haven't they? And I think they're thinking, well, that will help it survive. And we all know it won't, and they should know it won't as well. I can't help but think there's some paper-related reason that made them. I mean, because they always keep they have this weird thing, don't they, where like if a creature is a 1/3 creature, they always try and keep it as like a 1/3 or a 2/4 or a 3/5. Yeah? I feel like there's something written on the paper version of this card that influenced them to make this card shit. And normally I know what that is, and it's confusing me that I don't know what it is this time. Grim Bounty. Destroy target creature, create a gold token. So par for the course at the moment, I think, you know, is a removal spell that costs 8. And that's, you know, perfectly decent. I wouldn't really like to be relying on a card like this. You know, my creature destruction, black creature destruction of choice at the moment, Mythos of Nethroi, is untargeted, and it's got the little bonus thing on the end, that the adamant thing that destroys a support. So, but this is not a bad card. Guardian of Faith, Vigilance. When this creature enters the battlefield, exile each other creature you control. Well, I don't like that. You can kill your own stuff with, let's just see what Matthew's saying. Kill your own stuff with Grim. Oh, that's not a bonus. I know I rant a bit, you know, about the fact that I probably haven't done it on a stream before, but you know, I do really hate, and you all know, you two who are in here listening with me right now, that I hate the fact that Octagon prints so many effects that don't allow you to kill your own creature. So this one does, but the fact that it doesn't increase the power level of this card. All it does is it makes it easier to, you know, win an objective, and that is not nearly enough for me to get excited about. Guardian of Faith was exiling all of my creatures, and I didn't like that. Why would I want all my creatures to be exiled? I imagine he'll tell me. At the end of your turn, return the first 2 different creatures from your exile into the battlefield under your control with their reinforcements. I mean, that, right, I get what it's doing, but can I just be confused for a second? Like, surely, if I exile a creature with a reinforcement, surely that means 2 cards go to my exile, yeah? I mean, if a creature dies, and it's got whatever, if you've got a creature with 1 reinforcement, and it dies, both those copies go to the graveyard, yeah? If you exile a creature with 1 reinforcement, surely both those copies would go to the first 2 different creatures. Oh, right, okay, yeah, no, I see it now, yeah. So it's looking through all of the different creatures in your exile, it's picking 2 different ones, and it's sucking those 2 out, and also all the other copies of them, presumably. I mean, it seems rather good, doesn't it? It's a little flimsy, a little expensive and a little flimsy. 14 mana, 5/4. Obviously, it doesn't die with vigilance, but, you know, still a little on the small side. We've all got used to bouncing Urza in and out of play with Thassa, you know, and Thassa is a support, so harder to shoot, and it's got resilience, harder to blow off the board. So it's that kind of effect that we're talking about, bouncing your stuff in and out of play and getting useful effects off it. Plenty of creatures to do that with. And my instinct is to just not do that with a creature. It's okay, Guardian of Faith. Give it a go. See what you think of it. Guldra's Assassin. Neat. This is a pretty neat. This is one of those really neat leveling up creatures in... I think it must have been in a Zendikar set. All the leveling up creatures were in Zendikar sets. Well, it's weird where they get their cards from. And I like, you know, tiny little leveling up creatures that eventually become massive. There's some really neat ones of those in paper. They don't always survive the transition over to Puzzle Quest. Let's see what happens. When a creature dies, increase this card's level by 2. Yeah, you see, there is a huge difference between when something happens that you have oblique control over, level up, you know, in Puzzle Quest, and, you know, it's your turn, spend the mana if you like, you have absolute control over leveling up your own creature. Big difference. I don't like the way they've done it. You know, now we've got Vanguards, we can have activated abilities. Let's just put activated abilities on other cards. Yeah, let's not have all of our creatures and all of our supports, you know, trigger every turn. That's the best case scenario, trigger every turn. The worst case scenario usually being 1 activated gem that hides in the corner. Let's just have activated abilities printed on creatures in the same way that loyalty abilities are on Vanguards, and you tap on them and the thing happens if you want the thing to happen and you have absolute control over it. Let's do that. Increase the card level by 2, then your opponent loses X life. X is equal to this card's level, he says, scanning ahead. Right, I mean, that's shit, isn't it? Straight away, that's shit. It starts as a 4/4. You have to wait for a creature to die, and then all it does is deal 2 damage. And then it deals 4 damage. So we've got a shit creature so far. When this creature attacks, first opposing creature gets -2/-2. If this card's level is 6 or more, it gets -X/-X. Yeah, I don't like it. -2/-2 isn't actually going to kill anything. You need to kill things to level him up. But you can't kill things unless you already have leveled him up. So you have to play other effects to kill things. If you're playing other effects to kill things, you don't need this guy to kill things. You know, don't like it at all. Again, this is a masterpiece. Masterpieces should be better. I mean, Have we seen any masterpieces that have been good so far? The Fiendslayer Paladin is, you know, is the best we've seen, and it's not enough to make my eyes pop out. It's just all it is. The Fiendslayer Paladin is a good creature. You know, not seen anything along the lines of Morden Canaan in the masterpieces. Half elf monk. When this creature blocks, get out of my face. Just no, I'm not even going to talk about that card. Hall of Storm Giants. Convert 2 gems to blue. Yeah, this is part of a cycle. If there are 10 or more blue gems, your first blue creature gets +7/+7. Then gains Giant. Then drain 5 mana from the first spell in your opponent's hand. I'd prefer it, I mean, considering it's not going to trigger all the time, I'd prefer if it was the first card in your opponent's hand. But then, of course I would, because that's, you know, +7/+7 and a drain effect would be okay, wouldn't it? As I say, I still can't really rationalize to myself how often these you need 10 gems in things are going to trigger. But it's certainly not going to be every turn, isn't it? So, yeah, it's a land. You play lands, so you can play it. When another source makes you venture into the dungeon, venture into the dungeon. Whatever. Hand of Vecna. Oh yeah, there you go. Some guy has cut off his own hand. He has dumped onto the bloody stump the shriveled hand of the Archlich Vecna, and he's doing the thing. 8 mana, equip 2. Oh, I'd still prefer 9 and 3, but you know, okay, 8 and 2. Beginning of your turn, your first creature gets +X/+X until end of turn. X the number of cards in your hand. I mean, that's a lot better than most equipment, isn't it, really? I think, if this creature is named Vecna. This is the 2 times the number of cards in your hand instead. Well, I mean, I suppose it kind of depends if Vecna's any good, doesn't it? I'm assuming the Vecna is a card and not a token that gets produced by something, because I didn't see it being produced by the Eye of Vecna. Was it produced by the Eye of Vecna? I don't remember that happening. And as I recall, Vecna only had the two artifacts, at least, you know, back in 1980 something when I was reading the Dungeon Master's Guide. Vecna only left behind 2 relics. Maybe there are some more now. Vecna is a token. What creates Vecna now then, Matt? Book of Vile Deeds. Oh, I don't remember scrolling past that. I mean, we know the cards aren't quite in alphabetical order here, so I guess we'll come to it. Anyway, it's quite a good equipment, and as such, I don't like it because I don't like equipment. But it's quite a good one. But it's not. I mean, it's not a. You know, I want an equipment that's. What's an equipment that I like? Anything gives double strike. I quite. Grappling hook. Weirdly, I like grappling hook's definitely too expensive for an equipment, but I find myself liking it because double strike is great, and it's reasonably good at killing things with that, you know, tricksy little giving things defender. I like grappling hook. I like Embercleave, for God's sake. It's kind of fine, even though it costs so many points of mana. You know, I kind of like leaving it in my hand and waiting for it to pay for itself and then just suddenly having double strike. It turns out double strike is that good. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's what I really want from equipment is double strike. Or lifelink. You know, we all like Shadow Spear, don't we? Shadow Spear is a nifty card because it does lifelink. I mean, it lets you kill Gaia's Revenges sometimes, but mostly it's just the fact that it's got lifelink, and lifelink is that good. Just some power, Hand of Vecna? Nah. Herald of Hadar. Sounds like a Christmas carol, doesn't it? Human Warlock. When a creature dies for the first time, for a minute there I thought it said when it dies for the first time during your turn. I thought, how many times is it going to die during your turn? When a creature dies for the first time during your turn, well, I mean, that's just a bit of a shame. If for a 15 mana 4/4, fuck it, make it an engine. Why not? Why does it only have to trigger once? Your opponent loses 2 life. Your opponent loses 2 life, you gain 2 life. Your opponent loses 2 life, you gain 2 life. Create 2 gold tokens. Yeah, I mean, yeah, yes, I understand why you don't want to make it an absolute engine, because you could kill your opponent this, but it's only a 15 mana 4/4. Let somebody kill their bloody opponent with this. Why not? So what? It's still bad. It's a bad card that somebody might cobble into an engine. Let them cobble in. There are engines. You know, now that, you know, I spend a bit of time in the deck building area of our Slack, you know, I see what, you know, Mad Ren and Opera SM and, you know, the smart deck builders. Apologies if I've, you know, I'm only mentioning those two. We have many more smart deck builders, but I'm just name dropping a couple of people. They build engines. Engines do exist. So it's not like you stop engines from existing because you don't catch all the cards, Octagon. Just let this be an engine. It's a bad card, so fuck it. Hive of the Eye Tyrant. What is going on that card? It's literally just a cave. I mean, it's a hive, so presumably bees live there, or ants, or something. Generally, they don't like living under the... I don't know. Whatever. I don't like the name. I don't like the art. Let's see if the card is any good. Oh, right. It's the Black Land. Exile the first card with Buried from the opposing graveyard. Terrible. Your first black creature gets +3/+3. And Menace! Hooray! Oh, we've not seen Menace in a while. I was beginning to think they got bored of Menace. No. That creature gains the Beholder subtype? I mean... okay. I don't know. Occasionally this will mean a thing, you know. Occasionally a card will have written on it, this creature becomes a frog, and it means nothing and does nothing, but somehow the flavour of it. I mean, for example, on turn to frog. You know, the fact that it becomes a frog creature type doesn't really mean anything in gameplay terms. But it's just kind of cooler that it becomes a frog than a, you know, a spider or any other, a more boring type of +1 token, 1/1 token. You know, if something becomes a squirrel or a frog, it's cool, isn't it? So, but yeah, I can imagine a card where, oh look, it becomes a Beholder. Might be good, but this isn't it. Horde Rob. Oh God, no! Don't tell me there's a whole cycle of 7 mana 1/3s. Oh God, it's going to say roll a d. I'm not looking at the card now, but it's going to say roll a d20, isn't it? Tell me if it says, does it say roll a d20 on it? No, when a creature deals combat damage to your opponent's planeswalker, create a gold token. Well, it is better than that bloody dwarf. I can't believe I'm saying that, because that's so appalling. Yeah? That's a 132 turn clock against Nicol Bolas. I can't imagine Nicol Bolas being at all worried about that. You know, and gold tokens, generally, who cares? Don't really give a toss about gold tokens. But it is at least better than the red 7 mana 1/3. The brazen guy, who I can't remember the name of. Incidentally, yeah, point of order. A scurrilous rumour is going around saying that when we got to the... I'm going to go and find his name. I shouldn't. It'll be miles away and it'll just really waste everybody's time watching the stream. But I'm going to find his name because I want to burn it into my brain. I want to know my fucking enemy. Brazen Dwarf. That's the thing. There's a scurrilous rumour going around that I said that I would wipe my arse with this card. Right? And I want you all to know for definite that that is not true. Okay? What I actually said was, I wouldn't wipe my arse with this card because it's not even worth doing that with. Back to where we were. it really comes to something when you see a 7 mana 1/3 that creates a gold token, and you think, well, that's better than a different than another card. Hoarding Ogre, too expensive. When it attacks, create a gold token, create 2 gold tokens, create 4 gold tokens, whatever the fuck. It's so goddamn expensive. Make it 6 mana. Why not? I'm not going to play this card if it costs 6 mana and everything else on it is the same. Why not? Doesn't break any formats. Who cares? Make it 6 mana. Hobgoblin Bandit Lord. Okie dokie. When this creature attacks your other goblin creatures. See, I always thought hobgoblins and goblins are 2 different types of creatures. I'm not wrong, am I? Hobgoblins and goblins are not the same type of creature. I'm confused. Anyway, this is a goblin. He just happens to be called a hobgoblin. Maybe he's in disguise. You know? He's put an extra big false nose on. He's gone to spy on the hobgoblin camp. Who knows? Your other goblin creatures get +2/+2 until the beginning of your next turn. Okay. When a goblin creature enters the battlefield, deal 2 damage to your opponent's planeswalker. No. Make it deal damage to a creature. Why not? Still kind of bad. If that dealt damage to a creature, you would genuinely have somebody be interested in making a goblin deck by now, just with the Goblin King and the Hobgoblin Bandit Lord, you know? But nobody cares about dealing damage to planeswalkers. Not directly like that. Certainly not when you can only triggers up to 3 times. Again, make it a fucking engine. What, you're worried that somebody's going to put infinite goblins into play and kill somebody? Newsflash, if they can put infinite goblins into play, they can kill them with the infinite goblins. Why the trigger limit? They don't trust themselves, you know. They're so timid at the moment, and you know, fair enough, maybe they should be. They recognise that they're bad at making cards, but the answer is just to not carry on making more bad cards. The answer is to learn how to be better at making cards. A 7 mana 3/1. This is immediately tons better than a 7 mana 1/3. It's common. Pack Tactics. Again, we don't need it. We don't need this creature. If all a creature does is do creature things, just hit your opponent, yeah? We don't need Pack Tactics. What does Pack Tactics actually need to do? Let's design a card right now with Pack Tactics on it, yeah? So what do you want it to do? Speak up, everybody. We won't spend very long doing this because I can't be asked. Because the obvious answer to this question is don't ever make a card with Pack Tactics on it. But I mean, you'd probably want it to do something completely different. What I'd want it to do is sort me out for when my creatures inevitably die. That's what I'd want, you know? When I've got my Pack Tactics creature. I mean, for starters, my Pack Tactics creature needs to create some tokens and then buff both of the guys so he can actually trigger Pack Tactics himself. And then what I'd want him to do is to, when those creatures die, is to help me recover, you know. So when they die, it triggers something and they come back to my hand, or we create some stuff. But yeah, I would say the answer is, of course, just don't design Pack Tactics. That's my advice to you, Octagon. Don't design the mechanic Pack Tactics. Icing Death. Frost Tyrant. It's a strange name, isn't it? Do I like that art? I cannot decide if I like that art. It looks kind of like a Vogon. That's probably just because I'm in a hitchhiker's mode at the moment. I listen to hitchhikers a lot when I'm going to sleep. But it does look kind of like a Vogon from the movie. 7/6 Defender. Not good. When you cast this card... Oh, not awful, but yeah, not good. When you cast this card, disable each opposing creature until the end of your opponent's turn. Okay. And when it dies, create a thing. It's kind of a speed bump, you know. It gives you a turn, and then on the next turn, they all come in and they attack this guy and he dies because, let's face it, whatever your opponent had in play, it's going to kill a 7/6 with defender. So it seems like kind of a speed bump. So yeah, it does defend. I want the icing tongue. In paper, pack tactics is when you attack with creatures totaling 6 power, which would have been a much better interpretation, says Madren in the chat room. And he is absolutely right, yeah. I think we touched on that actually when we first learnt about pack tactics in this very stream, that it would have been better than having to have creatures and buff them. If you could have just had some creatures, yeah. I mean, that's half as much stuff. I need creatures and I need to buff them. That's 2 things you need. Or I just need some creatures. That's half as much stuff you need. I know it doesn't quite work out like that, but it kind of does, doesn't it? So yeah, they've really screwed the pooch on pack tactics. Yeah, if someone wants to tell me what Icing Death Frost Tongue does, because it's going to need to be bloody great for me to not dismiss that card. Improvised weapon. Wow, she's had enough of that mind flayer. Get out of my head! She's like, deal 2 damage. Bloody hell. Inferno of the Star Mounts. Do I like that art? No, not really. That's too expensive, isn't it? For a 8/8, 22 mana. Creatures need to be really, really fucking good for that much. You can, of course, cheat them into play. Maybe it's worth cheating this guy into play. Can't have its mana drained or raised. Yeah, it's basically nothing. Activate 4 red. It doesn't have menace. Why don't I give it menace? Look, I can still read that card without squinting at it. They could definitely put some more words on there, couldn't they? Menace and bravery. Give him bravery as well. So everyone's I'm not sure I'm going to get bored of that joke. You probably all got bored ages ago, but I'm not sure I am. So just to let you know, I mean, we've only got as far as I through the alphabet. We've got a lot of cards to go through, and I'm going to make that menace joke quite a few more times, I bet. So you might want to, you know, have some macrame handy so you can just like check out and dip back in when I've stopped amusing myself and only myself with the menace joke. Activate 4 red. 4's enough. This creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn. Increases card's level by 1. Okay, all right. I mean, that's a reasonable chance of increasing his level by doing his own thing. You know, obviously we want to be able to activate him and have total control over him raising his level. But, you know, 4 red, throw in some land. Seems like we've got a good chance of raising his level up. Then if his card's level is 5 or more, deal 20 damage to any opposing target. I mean, 20's kind of okay, but it's not enough to make it, you know, it's never going to be, damage is just not going to be enough to drive a card into the A-League at the moment, because what you're really scared about in Standard right now, you know, is somebody playing a lot of Urzas, you know, or you know, and lobbing down on a Rixmathes. It's not hard to get a creature with over 20 toughness, you know. Shatter Skull Pass is not a good removal. We'd all like it to be a good removal spell, but it's not a good removal spell. So yeah, even though you've had to jump through all these hoops to deal 20 damage, making it bad just because you've had to jump through the hoops, 20 damage is still quite bad. You shoot at your opponent's face, you know, it's not as irrelevant as shooting him for 2 points of damage, but it's still, you know, going to take quite a few 20 damages to the face to actually kill a planeswalker. As long as this creature's power is 16 or greater, it gains double strike or trample. Okay, I'm listening again. You say double strike. It's just a little bit hard, isn't it, to get his power up to 16. Playing a second copy of him is a lot of mana. And you'd have to pop all those activate 4 red gems in the same turn to get a single copy of him up, you know? And I'm definitely not convinced. You know, I can hear Chris, hiya Chris, shouting in the background saying, oh, you can put multiple copies of him into play with a prismatic bridge, but you can do all kinds of broken things with a prismatic bridge. I don't think that's the best one. At the end of your turn, this card's level becomes 1. Fuck off! Oh, after all that, I was trying to be really fair to this card. Yeah, with its dealing 20 damage. I thought I was really fair to this card, and it turns out you have to do all that in a single turn. You have to pop all 4 red gems in a single turn. There are only 4 red gems, and you have to pop all of them. This obviously can't even be done if somebody else has popped one. Do not want. Ingenious Smith. Hello, Mr. Smith, Miss Smith. I mean, that's a name, isn't it? She's not an Ingenious Smith. Her name is Ingenious Smith. She's an adventurer. Ingenious Smith for hire. When this creature enters the battlefield, fetch the first artifact card in your library. It gains 3 mana. I mean, you know, kind of low power and dull, but I'm getting into this uncommon card. It's just a name, isn't it? Hiya, Ingenious. How you doing? When an artifact card enters into play under your control, right? Okay, that's English now. This creature gets +1/+1. This effect can trigger 2 times per turn. Get rid of that. Take that text off the card. Doesn't need to be there. Yeah. Again, you know, with different numbers, the same card, with all of the same words written on, but different numbers, could have been interesting. And by making the numbers what they did, they made it kind of dull. And chaff. Inspiring Bard. I think that might be an oxymoron. I don't think Bard's inspired. I think Bards annoy. I think this card should be called Annoying Bard. I don't think a Bard has ever inspired me to do anything other than break his fucking loot over his head. Yeah? Anyway. Elf Bard. When this creature enters the battlefield, if you control a buffed creature, you gain 4 life. Otherwise, target creature... I mean, I don't know about you. I don't want to gain 4 life. I just want to get the +2/+2. Yeah? The 4 life thing is bad. You want to play it, immediately give it +2/+2. Then it's a 5/5 for 11 mana, which is obviously still really bad. You know? And then the next time you play it, you want to buff something again. You never want the 4 life. Irrelevant words all over the card, making a bad card significantly worse. Instrument of the Bards. Okay. 5 mana mythic. It's a support. I'm intrigued. It's got mana field. Okay. I like the picture. Now, I've just had a bit of a go at the Bards, haven't I? But I quite like all of the cute animals sitting around listening to the Bard play. The Bard, they can play for the animals. I just don't want them singing songs about my bravery while I'm, you know, actually trying to fight the beholder that's desperately trying to turn us into a pile of ashes. Or, if it's Barry, give us Menace, you know? That's not so bad. At the beginning of this turn, of your turn, increase this card's level by 3. Well, hey! Christy hell! we've had all these cards making us jump through all these hoops to increase their level, and this one's just going, yeah, this one's just escalating all on its own without you doing anything by wild amounts. Let's see why. Mana Field, the first historic card in your hand gains X mana. X is equal to this support's level. Yeah, I felt it might be something like that. You know, I mean, that's a decent effect. I'm stuck on my Mana Field. Madren, tell me what you think. You're in here. Tell me what you think about Mana Field. I know you've played with Mox Ruby in the past. At least I think you have. So, you know, if you can rely on triggering that mana field a bunch, this is a great card. And if you can't, then it's not a good card. So tell me what you think about mana field generally and this card specifically, because yeah, I don't like cards I can't rely on. I like mana field, says Madren. There you go. Madren says this is the best card in the entire set, and everyone should run out, spend real genuine money on it, and then if they don't like it, he says what? No, I'm telling everyone, don't worry. I'm telling everyone what you say. I'm passing your words along. Yeah, word for word. So, let's see if he said anything. I like the fetch. I like the 5-cost on mana field triggering enough. He says, right, okay. So he's saying mana field is triggered enough that it's helpful. Fair enough. You know, and this is certainly pumping itself up in level very, very quickly. And yes, I did notice the thing at the bottom that said, when this supports gem is matched, fetch the first historic card from your library, which is, you know, which is great. You're going to be casting, hopefully, a few historic cards quite quickly, so you're going to be wanting to get some more. You know, matching this supports gem, again, is, again, narrower than mana field, aren't they? But I'm willing to bet that you can match this supports gem with a, you know, with a cascade. You don't have to do it with an actual swap. I still don't really know about... do you trigger mana field with cascades, or can you only trigger mana field with swaps? Let me know. So, yeah. So, I mean, I guess this card might be good. Just doesn't seem on me. I can't see me playing it. Doesn't seem like a me type of card. Oh, hey, Goz. Goz has turned up in the chat. Hello. Welcome in. Automatic increase is what makes it interesting. You can trigger with cascades. Mana field gets triggered by cascades. All right. I'm interested. You know, it's green, and green is quite good at mana conversion. Obviously not as good as blue. I mean, it would be ridiculous to make green the best color at mana conversion in Magic. That would just be foolish. Blue has to be the best at everything. Yeah, nice and easy to convert gems in green, and yeah. So maybe this is really good then. If you can do both these things, if you can add mana to things and you can fetch things quite easily just by converting a lot of gem. I bet Goz loves this card. I'm just thinking, you know, my brain is going, well, you can't absolutely depend on it. Goz is going, yeah, but most of the time you can just kick somebody's ass and it'll be amazing. You put 100 creature in play, just do crazy, wazy shit. He loves shit like this. He's, you are a bit of a Timmy. Admit it, Goz. You are a little bit of a Timmy, aren't you? I mean no disrespect by saying that. I'm not saying you're not a bad player. I think you're a very good player. I just think you do like having very large things in play. Nose lies detected, says Goz. So, yeah, maybe that's good. Maybe I will. Maybe I actually will. Maybe even me. Obviously, Goz is going to play with it. Madren sounds like he's going to play with it. Maybe even I will play with that card. We will see. Seems all right. On to something pointless. Pack tactics venture into the dungeon. Fucking whatevs. Remind me, do you have to attack with? But I don't even care. I'm not even going to look into what that card does. Who gives a toss? Desert Doom. That's a very muscular dragon. 7/7 with ward. Again, still haven't... I haven't noticed ward having any effect on gameplay whatsoever myself so far. When this creature deals combat damage to your opponent's planeswalker, draw a card, it gains half his mana. That's not bad. Then, if you have less than 3 cards in your hand, draw cards equal to the difference. I mean, that is pretty sweet, isn't it? It's a lot like, what's the guy? Velomachus Lorehold does a similar thing, doesn't it? Velomachus Lorehold is coming in. It does have haste. Velomachus, which is better. You could make an argument for saying that having vigilance is better as well, which is fair. He's also picking cards, whereas Imrith, yeah, let's go with Imrith. Whereas Imrith, the Desert Doom, is just drawing a card. But even so, you know, if you're going to make, we talked earlier about making an expensive Jessian Thief. If you're going to make an expensive Jessian Thief, make it like this. This is a decent card, which will unfortunately probably live in the shadow of other slightly better decent cards. Not a problem there. Jaded Sellsword, 8 mana 4/3. That's rather good for a common, isn't it? It's a dragon warrior. Oh, so it is. Yeah, I didn't notice it was a dragon. I didn't know they made dragons that small. Do dragons? If I was a landlord, I wouldn't let a dragon drink in my pub. You know, I bet they get a bit, you know, burny when they've had a few. I just think it's dangerous. I'm not racist, yeah. Some of my best friends are dragons. I just don't like being around them. Their culture I find it a little... Anyway, moving on. When this creature enters the battlefield, if it was hired, it gains Berserker, First Strike and Haste until end of turn. Yeah, Berserker, First Strike, okay. Give it Death Touch. That'll be a laugh, wouldn't it? I mean, it's, you know, it's a bad common card. Give it Death Touch. That's what I'd do. Yeah, you know, I'll master. I won't cry into my beer while I'm mastering that card. That's what I'll say about that. The way I would with Brazen. I can't even remember his name. I've forgotten that bloody dwarf's name already. Brazen something. Kalane, Reclusive Painter. Now, I'll be honest. I just got my very first AFR booster today. I don't buy. I'm very disciplined. I've always said that the correct number of premium packs to buy when a set is released is 0. I bought 0 Strixhaven, I bought 0 AFR. So I got my very first AFR booster out of TOTP today. And this card popped up in it, and I had a look at this card and I had some thoughts. So I'm going to go through those thoughts that I had as we go. When this creature enters the battlefield, create 2 gold tokens. This card was hired, it gets +1/+1 menace. When another creature enters the battlefield under your control, if that card was hired, that creature gets +1/+1. Okay. Here's how I'd make this card. Okay? This is what I'd do. Costs 8 mana, it's a 4/4, and it has no text on it whatsoever. Yeah? It's still basically, to all intents and purposes, the same card. But that's what I'd do if I was making this card. I don't know why Octagon are afraid of making vanilla cards. You know, they make so many cards that nobody plays with. They must know that literally nobody plays with a lot of the cards that they make. So why not just make it really easy to implement the cards? I've been talking a little bit on the Slack today with Matthew. I don't know if Matthew's still around. I think maybe he is. No, they're not good for newer players. No, this card is not good for new players, guys. Newer players want to buy Origins, right? There's no point making shit fucking commons and uncommons in the newer set because new players are still buying Origins cards. By the time they progress to buying other sets, right, they've already got enough rares in Origins. They don't give a fucking flying toss about shit commons and shit uncommons in other sets. They are not good for new players. I deny that utterly. I was talking in the Slack earlier about an article about something called New World Order, which is a design philosophy that Wizards of the Coast adopted probably about 10 years ago now. They'd just been making Time Spiral, which was incredibly complicated. Lots of incredibly complicated cards with words written all over them. They were writing menace on cards. It was just anarchy, all kinds of mad shit. I loved it at the time, which is weird, isn't it? Because I hate words written on cards. The difference, of course, is that WotC were writing words on cards that meant something. You know, they were thinking about how the different words they wrote on the cards interacted with them, with each other, and with other cards. Whereas Octagon don't do that. They just write menace on cards and assume that it makes a difference. So they just made Time Spiral, WotC had, where the individual cards were complicated. And they realised they had a complexity problem. They went on to make Lorwyn, and they thought they'd solved the complexity problem, but they actually hadn't, because what happened is the problem with Lorwyn with complexity came from cards interacting with each other. The cards themselves weren't quite so complicated, but because so many of the cards that you had in play were all tribal and they all were interested in different tribes, it was difficult for new players especially, but even more experienced players who were like drafting or, you know, at pre-releases, they were playing with sealed decks. It was kind of difficult. It's a little too difficult for people to tell what was going on because of the complexity. And my point is that this New World Order, which is the name of the policy that Wizards adopted to just stop printing complex cards at low rarities. They still have all the complexity at rare and at mythic, but just to print less cards that were complicated and had lots of words at low rarities. Octagon really need to adopt a policy. I'll get on the forums at some point and I'll wave this article at them, and they won't read it, and nothing. That's your words take. I thought there's a lot that's lost in translation, switching from Portuguese to English. I mean, not really. When I say cards have got too many words printed on them, it's all about, you know, rules. It's not, you know, literally the number of words, whether there's does. And I know I was a bit mean. I took the piss out of saying enters into play on one card earlier. But, you know, it's about whether a sentence has rules text that affects play. It's not literally about the number of words printed on the card. I mean, this thing here just has all kinds of things printed on it that makes no difference to anybody. I mean, okay, this makes gold tokens, but anyone who wants to experiment with gold tokens is going to experiment with a better card. They're not going to experiment with this card. They're not going to think to themselves, I'm going to make a gold token deck. Let me go and fetch Kalain Reclusive Painter out of my folder. So this card should just be a 4/4, and anything else with gold tokens, you know, they should only print the good cards with gold tokens. They certainly shouldn't be printing cards this complicated. Anyway, don't like that card. Make it simpler. Kargan Dragonlord. This is going to be one of those things, isn't it? This is one of those leveling up cards that I liked when they made it in paper. Much like Guldra's Assassin that we saw earlier. And it's going to be bad. Their version of leveling up is going to be bad, isn't it? Let's see what happens. When a dragon creature you control attacks, increases card's level by 2. I was so close. They were so close, weren't they? All they had to do is make this a dragon. It's even got haste. It would be leveling up straight away. We'd have another one of those Bard sitting around. What was that Bard card that we all liked with the mana field? I say we, you know, I'm including myself in that. You won me over, guys. Just make this card a dragon. A dragon reaching control attacks. Yeah. I mean, 6 mana 3/3 is, you know, with haste is, it comes down quick and it does its thing and whatever. As long as you control a dragon, this creature gets flying and trample. We don't care. And this creature's base power and toughness becomes 6/6. Kind of don't really care either, actually. I mean, from a 3/3 to a 6/6, that clock still doesn't make a difference. You know, Octagon, learn. Another thing you need to learn. octagon is that planeswalkers in Puzzle Quest don't have 20 life. The difference between a 3/3 and a 6/6 in paper is massive because you only have to deal 20 damage to somebody to kill them. It's very different in your game that you supposedly made and understand. When this creature attacks, it gets +X till end of turn. X is equal to this card's level. Okay. I mean, yeah, okay. I mean, I don't mind a creature getting larger all the time. It's just that, you know, that whole middle clause is just kind of nothing. They could take the whole middle clause out, just make the creature a bit bigger, you know? Make it a dragon. So many ways you can make that more interesting to me, and you don't. End of the day, though, again, all it does is power. Yeah, all it does is attack. For all of these words, it just says on it, deal X damage. You know, where X is however much it's going to deal over a course of turns. So, yeah, do not care. Kazundu Tuskcaller, 7 mana 4/4. Again, passable. It's got bravery, presumably for no reason. When a creature you control is buffed, increase this card's level by 1. Right, scanning down the card, I don't see it actually buffing anything itself. You know, that would have been the thing, wouldn't it? Make it actually buff, give it its own buff power, preferably to itself, and that way you could be triggering it on a regular basis. This effect can trigger up to 2 times per turn. At the beginning of your turn, create an elephant token. All right, I'm in. All right, fair enough. This is a 7 mana 4/4. And at the beginning of your turn, I'm going to assume an elephant is a 3/3 because elephants are always 3/3s, yeah? So a 7 mana 4/4 when it's creating a 3/3 every turn. That's a decent amount of power we're producing. As long as this card's level is 6 or more, Pack Tactics create 3 elephant. I'm going to have to remind myself. Pack Tactics only triggers. I know I should have looked this up before, but Pack Tactics only triggers what? It triggers when this creature attacks, right? I'm going to go off to the forums. This is good content, isn't it? This is the kind of thing Twitch wants me transmitting to people. Patch notes 5.10. No, it's not 5.1.0. Release notes. That's it. Scan up to the top of the screen, which nobody can see. At the beginning of combat on your turn. Right, if you control 2 or more do the thing. So it's creating an elephant token. And then if you've got this creature and buffed, you know, and another one, and they're both buffed, create 3 more elephants. So it could be creating 4 more elephants. So that's a serious amount of power that it's dropping into play. It's not dropping in power as fast as Quartzwood Crusher. And that's, for me, everything comes back to Quartzwood Crusher. I'm a control player. I rarely play Beatdown. When I do play Beatdown, I want to be playing Quartzwood Crusher. You know, my standard training grounds deck is Kalemni with Quartzwood Crusher and nothing else. Yeah. I just literally, every time I pump that 4 loyalty ability, I get a new Quartzwood Crusher and I just play. And there's, you know, obviously there's some other things that let me play the Quartzwood Crushers, but as far as creatures go, that's it. That's all I want. So this isn't as good. But, you know, it does make a difference that this costs less. You drop it into play for only 7 mana. It's powering up things in play. I'm not sure it's enough for my liking, really, you know. What a shame it didn't actually buff things. I mean, it would, yeah, honestly, the design wouldn't make any sense if it actually buffed itself and the other creature. The whole design of the card wouldn't make any sense. But a creature that produces more creatures and they all attack and they kill your opponent, I'm into. And I do like the fact that it's a lot cheaper than Quartzwood Crusher. but I don't like the fact that it's a lot worse than Quartz of Crusher. So I guess it's okay. I guess it's okay. Keen-eared Sentry. 6 mana 3/2. Hold on, that's a bit powerful for you, isn't it, Octagon? What happened there? Just so spilled coffee on the keyboard, did you? I'm just making a want. Oh no, look what I've done. Oh, I've spilled coffee everywhere. Oh, it's got in the delete key. No, I've made this 6 mana creature a 3/2 by accident. What am I going to do? Oh, God. While on the battlefield, your Hexwalker gains, your Planeswalker gains Hexproof. Your Hexwalker gains Planesproof. I mean, that's kind of nothing, isn't it? Effects that directly target your Planeswalker are very few and far between. So that's kind of nothing. Interesting, but nothing. At the beginning of your turn, disable all opposing dungeons. That's very nothing. When your opponent makes their first match during their turn, enable all opposing dungeons. I'm having to remind myself how dungeons work now. It's when something says venture into the dungeon, isn't it? They make their first match. I mean, a lot of venture effects, they happen as like spells, don't they? So he's going to make his match. This guy's going to enable his dungeons again. And anything that's a spell that says venture in the dungeon, it's still going to work. Anything that triggers when you attack, like the Fiendslayer Paladin, is still going to work. It seems like it's not going to have much effect. This whole disabling dungeons thing is not going to have much effect. You know, they've come up with some new things. It must have taken them a while to code. They've written some new things on this card, and yeah, wasted their time, haven't they? Really. Karis and the Beholder. This sounds like a sitcom, if I ever heard one. Yeah, I think I used to watch this actually back in the 80s. Karis and the Beholder. She's a mage. He's a ball of ice who can disintegrate you from across the room, 10-foot radius. I'm pretty sure, yeah, wasn't it? And they did a crossover with Alf that one time. It was hilarious. Dragon Beholder Wizard. I mean, no, I like that creature type. Definitely a Dragon Beholder Wizard. That is cool. Are we supposed to assume then that those things he's got there that look a bit like whiskers aren't in fact whiskers, but are eye stalks? The art doesn't kind of do justice to the creature type of Dragon Beholder Wizard. 120. Do not like. Even if this had Defender, I've talked in the past about wanting to see some creatures that aren't, you know, always 4/4s or 12/12s and things like that. But even if they were to make a Defender at a massive amount of power, of toughness and a small amount of power, I wouldn't like it to have 1 power. That's still crap. Gosmaster says he's going to be singing the Karis and the Beholder theme tune all day. Yeah, I think I probably will as well. I might see if there's some of it on YouTube, actually. I might watch some Karis and the Beholder later on. See if I can find that very special episode where they tell us about the dangers of drugs. Beginning of combat on your turn, roll a d20. Gain 3 white human tokens. Okay. I mean, it feels like we've just scrolled past a card, which is much, much cheaper and is putting that type of power into play. 11 to 19, your creatures get +3/+3 permanently. Okay. Reinforce each non-legendary creature you control. Your non-legendary human creatures are reinforced 2 times instead. I mean, for a 20, it's the second time we've had one of these. We've had a roll of 20. And you think about what that's doing. It's giving you've got 2 creatures in play. Yeah, you've got him in play. You've got human tokens in play. That's 2 creature slots eaten up. You don't know what's in the third one, but you know, 2 creature slots eaten up, and he's not reinforcing himself, and he's giving your humans +2/+2. I mean, that's a bit pants, isn't it? For a 20 on the D20, but only a 20 on the D20 is supposed to be a cool thing. Anyway, yeah, for 19 mana, don't like him in the slightest. Yeah, low power. So much worse than the Kazundu Tuskcaller. Missing anything on there? I'm like, no, I'm not missing anything. So much worse. Criddle of Baldur's Gate. Oh, cool. I remember Baldur's Gate. It was a computer game, wasn't it? Human Elf Rogue. When this creature deals combat damage to your opponent's planeswalker, your opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Destroy the top card of your opponent's library. Surveil 1. Oh, I like some Surveil. I do like me some Surveil. Again, there's a lot of words on there when they could have just made it like a 4/4 with lifelink, and it would have been cleaner, it would have been better, you know. It still wouldn't have been too powerful. Destroy the top card of your opponent's library is a completely nothing effect. That's what I mean by words, guys, yeah? It's not the fact that they've mistranslated something, it's that they've written a whole sentence on there which almost never has any effect on gameplay. Destroy the top card of your opponent's library generally has no... There are some very niche corner cases where that might affect the game. Generally, it's not going to affect the game in the slightest. So yeah, make it a 4/4 with lifelink. I love Surveil generally, but yeah, Surveil 1 is a small number, isn't it? And you're not drawing the card. So yes, needlessly complex already, certainly. The beginning of combat on your turn, if your opponent controls more creatures than you, including reinforcements, creature gains unblockable. It's just, yeah, it's just full of all it needed to be. All it needed to be was a 9 mana 4/4 with lifelink, no text in the box. And instead there's all of these rules that just, you know, aren't going to affect anyone's experience of playing the game. Lair of the Hydra. This will be the green one, which we've not seen yet. Convert 2 gems to green. Yep. 10 or more green gems. Yep. Your first green creature gets +X and gains trample. X is the number of green gems. Creature gains the Hydra subtype. Oh, okay. All right. Fair enough. The reason why the black one made something a beholder is just because everything makes something something. Again, I feel like they could have just left that off the card for the sake of cleanness. I don't particularly like it. I wonder if these are manlands. Are these manlands in paper? Maybe they are. This +X, it seems like it might be quite a lot, yeah? I mean, certainly, you know for a fact it's only going to trigger when there are 10 or more green gems. So it's giving a creature +10/+10, and that's a sizable amount. It just depends on how many times it's going to trigger. So yeah, I mean, I have noticed a trend with these lands as we've been going on, you know, is generally the only bit of them I've been interested in is the fact that it's been pumping up their power. And we had a +3/+3 in Menace one, and we had a +7/+7 one, and it was a blue one. I was like, and now this one, most likely even bigger than +7/+7. Well, yeah, like I say, obviously, because you're going to need the 10 green gems. So I wouldn't go as far as to say bonkers good. God seems to think bonkers good. I mean, I can't describe, in all good conscience, I can't, staying true to my principles, I can't describe a land that only converts 2 gems as bonkers good. Not with the kind of lands we've got at the moment. But yeah, you know, it does give a lot of power to things. I will give it that much. Leather armor. Nice. Okay, yeah, a little nod to the old AD&D equipment. One equip cost. Again, never like one. Just fucking leave it off. We don't care. It costs 1. 5 mana. On the board, your first creature gets +0/+2. Now, you know, creatures don't interact with each other. It matters in paper magic. It matters if you give a creature +0/+2. It just doesn't. Giving a creature, because creatures don't block each other. Your average creature doesn't block your average creature. So this is a pointless thing. When your opponent casts a spell that targets your first creature, again, that doesn't really happen a lot, to be perfectly honest. Increase the cost of the first spell in your opponent's hand by 3. Right, so he's already shot your creature. Yeah, your creature's already dead. You're just making his next spell cost a little bit more. Hate this card. Garbage. Lightfoot Rogue. 3/2 with Death Touch. Surprised I didn't give it Menace. When this creature attacks, this creature gets +3/+0. Okay. Or it gains Berserker. Right, okay, it's got Death Touch. This creature gains Berserker and First Strike. Right. I mean, you really need to know whether this creature is going to have Berserker when it attacks. Imagine this creature if you could choose, you know what I mean? You could choose one or the other. Every time it attacked, you either gave it +3/+0, you know, so you've got a 7 mana 6/2. It's not a great clock, but better than most uncommon cards you'll find. And then that one turn, exactly on the turn that you wanted to do, you could all of a sudden make it have Berserker, kill the thing you wanted it to kill. It'd be kind of okay. I mean, damn it, we play with cards with, there are a few cards, aren't there, that have Berserker and Death Touch. Ocaran Assassin, Foulmire Knight. You know, we've had cards in the past that have Defender and Death Touch, like Ruin Rats. And these cards are kind of playable. They may creep into a tournament deck every now and again. Yeah, the thing this card needed was not to be random. Shame that. Loathsome Troll, 7/3. Well, that is going to die, isn't it? With only 3 toughness, when it attacks with its Berserker. When it dies, 1 to 10, exile this card. Okay, nothing. Many, many years ago, Wizards of the Coast printed a card called Cyclopean Mummy. It was a 2 mana 1/2, which is in paper is, you know, a reasonable creature. If you're paying 2 mana for something that deals 2 damage every turn, that's 1/10 of your opponent's life total. And when it died, you exiled it from play instead of putting it into your graveyard. There was no reason for it to do that. It was just some more words written on the card. Wizards, pretty soon, figured out, I mean, this was, you know, 25 years ago they printed this card, maybe 30, I don't know. Pretty soon they figured out, well, we should just stop writing words on cards if they don't fucking mean anything at all. 11 to 19, return this card to your hand. Okay. Well, I mean, that's good. We want that to happen, definitely, don't we? Because he is going to die pretty soon. He's only got 3 toughness. He's going to come into play. He's going to try and kill something. He's got a decent amount of chance of killing something, I suppose, with his 7 toughness, with his 7 power. 20, return this card to the battlefield and you control, disable this creature until end of turn. Well, it doesn't need to be disabled at all. Meaningless words there written on the end. So we didn't need to exile it. We didn't need to disable the creature. You know, we've got the same card with half the words on it already doing that. And yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't like it. If I'm going to kill a creature, I'm going to kill a creature. I'm not going to depend on this thing. Maybe killing a creature. Who cares? Yeah, take that back to the drawing board, Octagon. Have another pass at it. You know, the idea of a creature that kills creatures and maybe comes back. Yeah, okay, fair enough. We could talk about that basic concept. That creature, no good. Long rest. This is an X spell. Return up to the last X different cards from your graveyard to your hand. I think I'm liking where this is going. X is this card's stored mana. If X is 12 or more, you gain life. Oh, damn it. I was really hoping that gaining some mana would be somewhere along the line. Gaining some life is... Oh, hello. Upper SM's turned up. Hiya. Welcome in. Oh, a troll card. Yeah, sorry, God was just reminding me there that Loathsome Troll is a troll and trolls regenerate in D&D. So this has got the flavour of regenerating. They didn't give it regenerate, of course. Maybe that would have been a thing to do, Octagon. Never mind, eh? X is, if X is 12 or more, it's never going to be more than 12, is it? You gain life equal to the highest mana cost among cards in your hand. When you cast this card, exile it. Yeah, it's the mana gain. It's just the mana gain, isn't it? You know, you can put as many cards back into my hand as I like. But if none of them gain any mana, it basically doesn't mean anything as far as I'm concerned. Yes, you might gain 20 life off this card, and that's not an appalling effect. But, yeah, I'm not interested, actually. Shame that I really thought we were going to get some mana off that card and it was going to interest me. Nyarlathotep, hello, welcome in. Loyal Warhound. It's a defender. It's got first strike. I mean, that's kind of annoying, isn't it? It's like a 5/3 first striking defender is enough to annoy real newbie players to the game, and not enough for experienced players with who own more than 100 cards to give a toss about. So yeah, don't like where you've chosen to make those numbers sit. When this creature enters the battlefield, if they're 8 or less white gems, okay, interesting. Affects the first land support from your library, it gains full mana. Yeah, well, I like gaining lands and them gaining full mana. I don't like that not happening some of the time. I definitely am not interested in a 5/3 first striking defender. As such, I'm never going to play this card. Sorry, Magic Missile. Can't have its mana drained or raised. What? Why do they put that on cards? There must be something in paper that triggers them to think that. There must be, if a card says Arithmethes is good friends with that doggo. Yeah, but again, that's not because the doggo is good. That's because Arithmethes is good. Do people really like that? Are people really going to play this card and they're going to prefer playing this to Knight of the White Orchid because it's cheap? I mean, I suppose you could make a case that this is a better card than Knight of the White Orchid specifically because it is cheaper. And then you add cards to this that pump it up, and then instead of a 5/3 first striking defender, you've all of a sudden got a 16/14 first strike defense. Okay. No drain raises can't be countered. Right, that's what Matthew's saying. I see. I mean, they need to realise they don't need to convert everything across. Just because a card in paper says can't be countered doesn't mean they have to then write the words can't have its mana drained or raised written on the card. because in this instance, and in fact most instances, can't have its mana drained or raised is just kind of adding words for no reason. Yeah, is anyone ever really happy to see that written on a card? No, I don't think so. Deals 6 damage, divided up amongst the first 3 opposing creatures. Trash! Manifold Insights. Let's see if we can finally get a masterpiece, which is good, shall we? Roll a d20. 1 to 5, draw 2 cards for 9 mana. That's not good, but that's only 25% of what this card does. So let's see how we do. Draw 2 cards. Those cards gain 6 mana. All right, I'm interested. Yeah, I find myself interested. Draw 2 cards. Those cards gain half their mana. Now, knowing me, that's probably going to be about 6 mana to it. Knowing Goz, that's going to be about 10 mana. They're going to be gaining when they're gaining half the mana because he wants his nice big Timmy Tiamats in play. I'm more likely to be playing with control cards. So that half their mana is probably going to be more like 6. Still, drawing 2 cards, putting 6 mana into both of them is okay. And then a full 25% of the time, draw 2 cards, those cards gain full mana. I mean, I think this is okay. I think this is okay. The worst case scenario is 9 mana for 2 cards, which is bad. That's what concerns me. If I'm playing a control deck and, you know, my opponent does anything even slightly dangerous and I waste time spending 9 mana on 2 cards that don't get any mana in them, am I going to curse this card to the high heavens? I think I might. Even though most of the time, 75% of the time, I'm going to get a decent amount of mana in these cards. I was just thinking, because it's blue, my brain went to Talent of the Telepath. That's what I was comparing it to, and I was thinking, would I play Talent of the Telepath over this? And I'm kind of not sure, to be honest. I kind of want to say I'd play this over Talent of the Telepath, but I'm also kind of scared that it's going to whiff on me. But I think a better comparison is actually Grim Tutor, which is a card that I often play in top tier standard events. Grim Tutor, because I like the way it either gives me an Urza and puts 8 mana into it, or it gets me a Ruinous Ultimatum and puts 11 mana into it. And it's never, you know, it doesn't let me down as far as mana is concerned. Obviously, either card can let you down because you might not find the card that you want to find, but Grim Tutor digs deeper. So yeah, I'm not going to be playing Manifold Insights over Grim Tutor, is what I'd say. So, interesting. I can't say it's not a good card. I think it is a good card, but I worry about its dependability. And I can't see myself playing with it. Of course, it being a masterpiece and me not buying a lot of cards, I'll probably never get the opportunity to play with it. But I think Manifold Insights isn't going to make the cut into the top tier of gameplay. Meteor Swarm. Oh, good. We've got enhanced cards, have we? They've decided to stick with enhanced. Hooray! We had Surveil before, but it was one single example of Surveil 1, which I can't get excited about. But Surveil, at least, is one of my favourite mechanics they've ever printed. I'm all over those Discoveries and Notion Rains and even fucking Dream Eaters. What was it? The Sphinx was called a Dream Eater, I think. Even like that bloke with his Surveil 4 on him and Lazav. I love a bit of Surveil. But no, we're delving back into the past, which is the last set, to put enhanced on cards. And everyone kind of hates enhanced, don't they? There's definitely been a thread on the forums with plenty of people saying, you've got to make enhanced better. It's a bag of shit, mate. Deals 6 damage. I mean, whatever it does, it's dealing damage. It's bad. It's a bad card. Up to the first X opposing creatures. Well, it's got the decency to not split that damage up. X is the number of times this card is enhanced. So if you enhance this thing, it's making 5 enhanced gems. It's going to deal 6 damage. It's untargeted. If X is 3 or more, deals 6 damage. We don't care about X being 3 or more. Don't care about it. Yeah, as I've said, dealing 20 damage is often not enough, frankly. Shatterskull Pass is not a great card, and Shatterskull Pass is so much better than this. Okay, all right, I say Shatterskull Pass is that. I never play I would never consider playing Shatterskull Pass, which I don't even think is the name of the card, but I think you know which I'm talking about. Shatterskull, whatever it is, the land forming one. I would never consider playing it with my main account. I do have an alternate account that I've been playing a little bit at the moment, which is pretty low power, doesn't have all of groovy stuff and doesn't have the options, and I have been playing Shatterskull Pass, whatever it's called, in my alternate account. So I shouldn't really be calling it a bad card, but I am definitely playing it under duress in my alternate account because I don't have better options. But my main account, I do have better options. I wouldn't play it, and it's better than this, so I definitely wouldn't play this. Is it garbage? It probably is garbage, isn't it? It doesn't do anything unless you actually enhance a gem. It's pretty bad. Let's say it's pretty bad and move along. Here's a Mimic. It's got a lot of eyes, hasn't it? I don't remember Mimics having that many eyes. It's checking out all the other Mimics across the... Oh, I fancy her. I'll be sending some spores out towards her later on. Yeah, checking out all the other Mimics in the room. I mean, Mimics are generally fairly solitary creatures, I thought. You never find a room full of Mimics, do you? Yeah? I mean, there'd be no point. If you were a dungeon master and you were designing a dungeon, you wouldn't have a room full of Mimics, because after the first one has eaten somebody's hand, nobody's going to fall for the second one. When you master supports gem, gain 4 mana. Okay. Don't like it. Very narrow mana field kind of effect. When your opponent matches gem, your opponent loses 4 life. Don't like it. Don't like the card. Moving on. Mind Flayer. Oh, they've gone all in on the Mind Flayers, haven't they? We've had 2 actual Mind Flayers, including this one. We had a bit of a Mind Flayer art card earlier. I was thinking maybe they were avoiding the Mind Flayers because they were scared what people might find if they Googled. Seriously, don't Google Mind Flayers. The internet is a sick place. It's sick. I don't know what's going on in people's heads. But apparently that means that they're popular. So Magic the Gathering is going to go with it. I mean, I'd have been happier if there'd been more Displacer Beast cards. I've only made 1 Displacer Beast card that I've seen so far. Make like 3 or 4 Displacer Beast cards. Displacer Beasts are awesome. And, even though admittedly they do have tentacles, there isn't weird pornography of them all over the internet. Safer, I think, to make a bunch of Displacer Beast cards than it is to make a bunch of Mind Flayer cards. Shall we see what this one actually does? When this creature enters the battlefield, if you control 2 or less creatures, gain control of target opposing creature. Hello! I like it. Yes, it's solid. It's very similar to the Agent of Treachery, isn't it? We've got the same kind of cost, the same level of power and toughness. I always like gaining control of creatures. Gaining control of creatures with a creature means, your second copy of this might not actually have a slot spare to steal a creature into, and your third copy of it definitely isn't. But that's a perfectly decent effect. When this creature dies or is exiled from the battlefield, return all creatures you control but don't own to your opponent's control. Oh, why? Agent of Treachery didn't give things back, did it? No, it's just you. That's mine now. Yeah, just get rid of that. It's not a broken card. If it just had the first paragraph on, not the second paragraph, it's not a broken card. Let it be like that. I mean, I understand that there is probably room in the world for this type of ability. I know I'm always poo-poo whenever we come across one of these cards and it destroys something and then gives it back later on. I'm always like, nah, it's crap, I don't like it. And it's perfectly possible that there might be a good version to make that I still wouldn't like. I don't think we've even got that far though. Let's see what the room says. I like Mind Flayer. I'm curious how they'll handle if we bounce the creature to hand. Yep, you're right. They didn't cover that base, didn't they? They didn't think of it. I mean, I'm sure they would have done if they'd have thought of it. But if you bounce it, it looks like you're going to get control of the thing permanently. I can't really get excited about that though, to be honest. Because, you know, it's not like there's a Thasser that bounces something to your hand and then puts it back without paying for it. So, even though if you bounce it, you gain control of the thing permanently. Can't get too excited about it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just worse than Agent of Treachery. Agent of Treachery had the extra little kicker of the extra card on it, didn't it? It was a very nice creature. Still didn't use it a lot, to be perfectly honest. Yeah. Sorry, Mind Flayer. I can't say you're bad, but I can't get excited about you. Minimus Containment. Sounds like a Harry Potter spell. Target opposing creature gets -6/-0. That definitely sounds like not enough, does it? Gains the treasure subtype. There you go, I like that. That's a little bit of flavour. Doesn't mean anything. There's a little bit of flavour on the card. I kind of like it, actually. See, I'm not such a hard bastard after all. And enchanted, when this creature dies, your opponent gains X mana. X is the number of treasure cards in play. Right. I would like more mana, please, than that. -6/-0. I mean, just -X/-0. Come on now. It's a whole card. Make it take out a whole one of your opponent's cards. Make it drop its power to 0. So, yeah, I'm not playing it. Minion of the Mighty. It's a 4-mana 0/5. I mean, it's very important with 0/5s that they have 2 different creature abilities that affect it when it attacks, given that it can't inherently do that. Let's skip to the bottom of the card, because that's the bit that makes it actually attack, isn't it? When this creature enters the battlefield, target creature you control gets +4/+0 and gains haste. Right. I mean, it almost feels like they've thought that through. Yeah? I mean, obviously it does it to itself. Yeah? It becomes a 4/5, it attacks. The menace and the bravery become relevant. Well, they don't really become relevant, because when are bravery and menace ever relevant? But at least they're more relevant than nothing. But also, it only costs 4 mana, you know, so you can actually hold that in your hand, play another creature, play this creature on the same turn, give that other creature haste, and +4/+0 for 4 mana, which as a spell, you know, it's okay, isn't it? If you're giving something else haste +4/+0 though, you're left with this thing just kind of sitting in play, having a bunch of words on it. taking up a creature slot, just being a 0/5. That's not a problem, you can build over it. It's just a bit ugly, isn't it? So what the Pack Tactics does, move the first dragon card from your hand into play under your control. If that card is a creature card, it gains haste. Let's think about this then. Pack Tactics. So you've got a creature in play. You're playing this creature. You then buff this creature. You need one creature in play already, and it also needs a buff in order for the Pack Tactics to trigger. Yeah, this guy is the second creature, and he gives himself the buff to make the Pack Tactics trigger. But you need a creature already there, already in play, already without Summoning Sickness, because he's only giving haste to one creature. And that's going to make the Pack Tactics trigger, and then the dragon is going to come into your play and it gains haste. Now, Pack Tactics triggers at the beginning of combat, so you do get to attack with the dragon. I'm trying hard to think of a 4 mana with 4/5 with haste. It's not a 4 mana 4/5 with haste, is it? It's only a 4/5 with haste on the first turn it comes into play. Yeah, too many hoops, I think. I've talked myself out of this card. 4 mana 4/5, that would have been fine as a mythic. Yeah, just a 4 mana 4/5. I get that they wanted to make it buff, to make it more Pack Tacticsy. But if it had stayed in play, buffed, would have been fine. Wouldn't have been too good, a 4 mana 4/5. That's a decent tiny little clock. It could have done some other stuff. Don't like the fact that +4/+0 wears off. Yeah. So generally don't like it. Let's see what Goz thinks about it. If Goz doesn't like it, it's going to be absolutely the kiss of death on this card. Ta-ra, Madren. Goz hasn't said anything so far. Maybe he's marshalling his thoughts, or maybe it just hasn't come through the ether yet. But yeah, I can't say Minion of the Mighty is exciting me. I believe people are into Minsk. I recognise this artwork as something people have printed recently. Goz says yeah. Oh well, there you go then. If Goz says meh on this card, and I say meh on this card, it's definitely meh. You know, it feels like they were trying something. So I can't be too angry about the card. But the thing they were trying, their experiment, is a failure. Talk amongst yourselves for a second. That can of monster that I've been drinking, well, it's Cherry Relentless, actually, appears to have have reached the exit. So I'm gonna run off to the loo. I'll literally only be 2 minutes though, but give us a sec. I'll be right back. Read what the card does. See what you think. we're coming back. So yeah, I'm kind of expecting, put my headphones in, I'm kind of expecting this to be okay because I remember seeing it around. Let's see what we've got. Oh, right, yeah, okay. I don't know what the boo token does. Somebody tell me what the boo token is. Where's my little helper who keeps popping up at the top of my screen? Matt, tell me what the boo token does. Because that's probably going to be important, isn't it? It's an 11 mana 4/4. It's 3 coloured. I like multicoloured cards because I like playing Karn a lot. So I just have a natural affinity towards 3 colour cards and 5 colour cards. Because it makes a difference to me. But yeah, obviously the card still needs to be good. Okay, so the boo token is a 1/1 hasty trample. It says, I don't know if there was any more text I did think. No, it's a 1/1 hasty trample. Okay. At the beginning, so you've got 2 creatures there. Okay, at the beginning of combat on your turn, you may drain all the mana from your hand. Right, don't like that. If you do, target creature you control gets +X/+X. Oh, hello. And gains a giant subtype. X is the amount of mana drained this way. Crikey. I mean, that could be a lot, couldn't it? That could definitely be a lot. That could be a very large smack coming in. The token has haste, so it could be doing that on this very turn. We haven't necessarily got a whole lot of mana on this very turn because we've just spent 11 of it. You're supposed to target boo, says Matthew, with that. Yes, of course. Because it's got haste and it's coming in. So yeah, I mean, I can definitely see you hitting somebody in the face very, very hard with Minsk. How do I feel about it if I was playing a beatdown deck? You know, my default beatdown deck, as you know, is Calamity with Quartzwood Crusher. Can't put this into a, well, can't fetch this with a Calamity deck. Can put it in though. What does a beatdown deck look like with mint skin? And is it better than just playing a succession of Quartzwood Crushers? Who knows? I'll be interested to see what people can build with this. Because, yeah, you know, I suppose throw out a few Animist Awakening in a turn. Drop this guy. You could potentially be hitting somebody. You could. It's not that easy to hit somebody in the face for 20 points of damage on turn 1, is it? Not that easy to do that. Maybe the Song of Creation players will like it. Yeah, they're always throwing out gem conversion spells. I've no idea. I don't play with Song of Creation. I know it's great. I'm not saying Song of Creation's a bad card. Of course, Song of Creation's a great card. It's it's not for me, so I don't play with it a lot. So I don't know. Yeah, feels like it could be a real one to watch. That, doesn't it? I'm sure everyone will agree with me when I say that. I don't think I'm. Oh shit! We've skipped all the way back. Don't think I'm revealing anything that people don't know that Minsk could be one to watch. I don't necessarily think, you know, can't just throw him into any old deck. But it shouldn't be too hard to build a deck where he does a very good job. Monk class. Support can't be reinforced. When you cast your second card every turn, your first creature gets +2/+2, increase this card's level by 2. right? It's a permanent buff. You do have to, it's not easy casting 2 cards in a turn, except when it is, you know? Like, if you're just playing a beatdown deck, it's not easy playing 2 cards in a turn. If you're playing a combo deck, you don't really care about one of your creatures once a turn getting +2/+2. So, not really very interesting, that. Increases cards level by 2. If the card is leveled 5 or more, draw a card. If that card's base cost is X or less, it gains full mana. Full mana is always good. X is equal to the base cost of the last card you've played this turn. It's kind of a cascade effect, isn't it? You know, in paper magic, there's an ability called Cascade, and you play a card and then you start ripping cards off the top of your deck. And when you find a cheaper one than the card you've played, you get to play it for free. It's a little bit like that. It's not a whole lot like that, is it? You're drawing one specific card. If it's a cheaper one, it gains full mana. I mean, I feel like you don't want to be playing with expensive cards, do you? Because you need to be casting your second card in a turn. You know, there are things written on this card I like. Everyone likes the phrase full mana, but I'm just not really interested in what's going on. When this card level becomes 9, return target creature to its owner's hand. Well, that's just a completely unreliable effect. Yeah, there's some nice words written on this card. You know, they've not written like menace or bravery on it. They've written some nice things on it, but just the combination of them and the way they're all written, the general unreliability of it, you know, philosophically, when things need to happen and when they don't need to happen, it's a mess. This is a mess and I don't like it. Goz says, I'm curious how these play with doesn't reinforce and get multiples on the board and daisy chaining low cost spells together. Yeah, I understand we're going to hit a class card later on that generates mana. So if you have a bunch of these not reinforcing classes in play, how does that make sense, by the way? A monk class, it's a class card having 3 classes that are all monk. That doesn't make, like, you know, thematically that doesn't make any sense to. I can understand having 3 monks in play, but 3 monk classes in play? Surely a class is a type of, you'd only ever have 1 class. Doesn't just this kind of thing bugs me. It makes no difference from a gameplay point of view. Yeah, don't like monk class. Don't like it. Ochre Jelly, 4 mana. 1/1, 16 stored mana we can have. Presumably that means it's going to get +X/+X. Half this card's store mana rounded down. Why? Why rounded down? Just make it be really big. You're paying 20 mana to get a 9/9. How much more exciting would it be to pay 20 mana to get a 17/17? And again, wouldn't be broken for that. I wonder why they felt the urge to chop that down. When this creature dies, create a copy of it on the battlefield under your control. Y is equal to half the creature's toughness. So when it dies, you pay X mana, half of that becomes its power and toughness. And then when it dies, you get another version of it, which is half as big again. Given that all it does is attack. Oh, notice it's got Berserker on it as well. I mean, that would be, to me, right? A 2020 Berserker is interesting because it's big enough to kill something, but maybe not big enough to kill a lot of things. A 2020 Berserker is interesting. An 8/8 Berserker is kind of not interesting. All right, I'll grant you, It's 9/9. Strictly speaking, that is big enough to kill a single Gaia's Revenge. My brain's gone weird. Are they called Gaia's Revenge? Well, let's call it a GR, and then I can pretend that I don't have to know. Yeah? So, strictly speaking, a 9/9 Ochre Jelly can attack and kill a Gaia's Revenge. Again, I can't say it's bad particularly, but it's not, you know, doesn't really shine. You know, it's far from tier 1. Old Gnawbone. This is another card that I've heard people talking about. Let's see if it's because he's good. 19 mana 9/9, which is very comparable to the Ochre Jelly there. When a creature you control deals combat damage to your opponent's planeswalker, create X gold tokens. X is this creature's base power. Okay, so he's going to immediately spam the board full of gold tokens, isn't he? Straight away, he's going to put 9 of those. Well, you know, we've got to wait for him to attack, but he's going to put 9 of them into play. Yeah? If he happens to be a bit bigger for some reason. Token animation is super well, thank God for that. I would hope so. I mean, you know, I'm sure we remember, some of us remember the olden days with, what were they called? What were the support tokens? Servos. The original implementation of servos was so fucking slow waiting for that. So I'm glad they've made the animation on this super fast. I don't really like spamming the board, to be honest, with gold. I thought it would be slow. Yeah, I did too, Matt. I don't really like just the idea of filling the board with gold, just because it's hard. It is hard to hunt through all of the bloody supports that are on the board and find out what ones are relevant. I don't really like that. You know, even if you've been watching them come into play, which, you know, let's face it, a lot of the time we don't, do we? Because we've turned fast animations on, so we haven't actually watched supports coming into play. Let's put that aside. Let's assume that I don't mind the fact that I can't find supports on the board, and think strictly about the power of having 9 gold tokens spawn every single time he attacks. I mean, that's going to be a decent amount of mana, isn't it? Yeah, each one of those gold tokens pops, you get 3 mana. Am I right? I think I'm right there. Old Gnawbone is broken, says Goz. I mean, it's going to interfere with gem conversion. Well, yeah, okay. It's 27 mana, but you're not going to pop all 9 of them every turn, are you? It's not 27 mana. It's certainly 3 mana. I think you can say it's certainly 6 mana. Yeah, 9 of them. I think you're pretty much always going to pop 2 of them. 6 extra mana a turn. We're really starting to talk about something, aren't we? Yeah. So yes, it does sound to me like Old Gnawbone is going to be generating a serious amount of mana. In fact, to be honest, I would be thinking about the fact that all of the gold tokens he spam into play might even be a good way of shutting down your opponent a certain amount. I don't know. I don't know about that. But, you know, it's something that I have thought about in the past. You know, I do like spamming the board with energy. I've got a deck that I play in whatever the bloody event is somewhere that I can't remember the name, probably Emergency Ordinances, you know, and I'm dropping a lot of those whales into play with a deploy and filling the board full of energized gems, and that stops somebody going crazy with a Rishkar's Expertise. I'm not necessarily sure that will work the same way, filling the, you know, stopping gem conversion by filling the board full of gold tokens. But it might, who knows? But yeah, I'd say that I would say you're going to get a decent amount of mana off this guy. I'm sure you combo players out there have already started thinking about things that trigger when you kill supports. You know, the very act of creating 9 things that die easily in a turn has got to be exciting to the combo players. But for me, it's a big ass creature that generates a lot of mana. He's okay. Yeah, he's pretty damn good, I think. Moving along. Presumably when your opponent pops a gold token, you get the mana. That's how gold works, isn't it? As I recall. So that probably means you're popping 3 or 4 every turn. If you include your move and your opponent's turn, maybe popping 3 or 4 gold tokens every turn. You know? More than 2, I think. You can probably count on 3 of them. 9 mana every single turn. I mean, that's very decent. Yeah, quite like him. Oh, and of course, you know, he doesn't necessarily, he's got semi-haste, doesn't he? Because if you put him into play, he doesn't immediately attack and create those 9 gold tokens. But the creatures that are already into play, all of a sudden, are creating extra gold tokens. So there's a semi-hasty ability going on there, you know. He doesn't necessarily do nothing if you play him and he dies before he attacks, which is always my concern with a very expensive card. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Am I as excited about this card as I am about Morden Kanan? No. But I think that's a very good card. Orb of Dragonkind. Mana Fill. The first dragon card in your hand that can gain mana gains half its mana. Okay. Well, they're usually quite expensive, so that's probably quite a bit of mana. When this support is destroyed, pick one of the first 3 dragon cards from your library, fetch that card, it gains full mana. Wow, I actually really like that. Why doesn't it have the mana field icon? I probably just forgot to put it on. Yeah, I like that. Mana field apparently triggers some of the time, as I've learnt today. I've been told by people who play with mana field. Yeah, you're limited to dragons, of course. I can't really put together in my head what a bunch of good dragons is. Hey, I'll tell you who's a good dragon. Baba! I wouldn't mind going and fetching one of those and giving it full mana, you know. I wouldn't even mind it being in my hand, me doing the mana field and it gaining half its mana. And presumably if you've got half its mana in it already and you can gain the other half of its mana with the mana field. Yeah, okay, yeah. Pretty good, Orb of Dragonkind. Pretty damn good. Orcus, Prince of Undeath. No, Undeath. 6/4 for 18 mana, too small. When this creature enters the battlefield, if this is the only creature you control, return the first 2 different creature cards that are not named Orcus, Prince of Undeath from your graveyard into play under your control. Those creatures gain haste until end of turn. Okay, that's good. Yeah. And they stay in play, do they? First 2 different creature cards, not named that. If it's the only creature you control, things sprog back into play. If you already happen to have something there, other creatures get -6/-6. You lose 6 life. Right. I mean, so it kind of sounds like if you've already got creatures in play, he's killing those creatures. I mean, he might not. -6/-6 isn't a reliable way to kill creatures. You know? Doesn't kill old Gnawbone, does it? So yeah, yeah, clearly the first half of him is good, and the second half of him isn't so good. And it kind of remains to be seen whether we care about that. I mean, I really feel like he's giving them haste. I really feel like what I want to play instead of one of these, what I want in my deck is a prismatic bridge. But you know, there's a difference because you're playing this out of the blue. You've got nothing else in play. He's popping 2 things into play from the graveyard and giving them haste, and they stay in play. One to watch, maybe. One to watch. Oswald Fiddlebender. He's a Batman villain, and no mistake, isn't he? Where is he? He's on a hot air balloon, I think. 9 mana 4/4. He's level 1. Level cards haven't been ideal, have they? When an artifact you control is destroyed, increase this card's level by 3. Now, what's a good artifact? Are gold cards artifact, for example? Because I can imagine quite a lot of those being destroyed, and therefore Oswald Fiddlebender's level pumping up very quickly indeed. So yeah, you might find there are some tokens around that he combos with. You're going to need to find those tokens though. I mean, if you're just expecting your normal artifact cards that you're playing to be destroyed, he's not going to move level up very quickly indeed. Then move the first artifact card with the highest base cost that is equal to or less than this card's level from your library into play. Well, that's a zone change and a half, isn't it? Wow. When an artifact enters play under your control, increase this card's level by 1. Then this creature gets +1/+1. Yeah, I mean, it's clearly a combo card, but I think it might have the power to make it a really good combo card. Is gold a him with all? Yeah, everyone's saying yes, you can do it with gold. You're all ahead of me. You've all thought of this before. Yes. There's going to be, yeah. Could I see myself playing some kind of combo deck with Oswald Fiddlebender? I mean, maybe. Yeah. You know, I'm having to imagine what the other half of the combo is, but I can certainly imagine a card making me happy with him being half the combo. Yeah, I think he's good. I hope he's good. Let's hope he's got the support to make him nice and decent and playable. Let's hope he's not completely broken and doesn't warp the format, because, you know, he kind of looks like he might have the power to do that. Looks really good, doesn't he? I think I'd like to get hold of one of those and play around with him. Bend his fiddle. Paladin class. We still haven't got to the good way. It's some kind of wizard, I imagine. It's got to be the good one's got to be the blue one, hasn't it? Yeah, because blue is the good colour. When a creature you control with a basic evergreen ability attacks, increase this card level by 1. Okay, that's easier than a lot of classes we've seen, hasn't it? It's pretty easy to attack with a creature with a basic evergreen ability. You know, haste being a good one. If this card's level is 3 or more, that creature gets +X and double strike. Oh, have we found a class that I like? I mean, it doesn't seem hard to get to level 3, does it? Double strike, you know, is one of my favourite creature abilities. One of my favourite evergreen abilities. And it doesn't seem hard. Whenever a creature you control, okay, so you can level them up more than once in a turn. A creature you control with a basic evergreen level, cards level 1 is cards level 3 or more, that creature gets. So could that be triggering multiple times in a turn? So I've got 3 creatures, yeah, and they all attack in a turn. Does that then takes this up to level 3, yeah? So the last creature that attacks does the double strike thing, and then the next turn I'm attacking with 3 different double striking creatures, all of which are being pumped up by this paladin class. This seems good. And of course, we could have multiple versions of this in play. You know, giving things double strike, we don't care about, but they'd all be giving things something +X/+X. This seems good. When this card's level becomes 5, your creatures get +3/+3. Okay, it's all just funneling into power. While on the board, non-support cards in your opponent's hand cost 3 more to cast. I mean, that seems to... I feel like that's not going to make much difference, you know. If your opponent is playing away with his Song of Creation deck, making all of his cards cost 3 more, I don't think is going to make any difference. So I'm unimpressed by that final sentence, but that looks like it could be pretty badass, actually, for 11 mana. Yeah, this might be the best class that I've seen so far. Might be, can't quite remember. Paladin's Shield. Yeah, let's get back to a shit common card. We've had a few too many good cards in a row now, haven't we? What's that, like 3 or 4 cards that I've actually thought were actually genuinely good, or at least, yeah, good enough in a row. Let's get back to something shit. While on the board, your first creature gets +3/+0 and vigilance. Yep, that's certainly shit. Pixie Guide. I don't like the art. I like a good fairy. I don't particularly like the art on that one. 1/3. Yeah, if you would roll a d20, you may ignore that roll's value and roll again. This effect can trigger up to 1 time per turn. Right. I mean, I see why they would have done that with the 1 time a turn, is so you can't keep re-rolling the same roll. But I feel like they could have said you can only use this ability once on each roll. I think you could let it trigger some more times in a turn. I also think taking up a creature slot with this card is a bit unfortunate. I would have liked to have seen it be a support. Because, you know, 1/3, crap. A re-roll. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of willing D20 effects to be good, but I'm not sure I've actually seen one. We had that blue masterpiece, didn't we? That I decided I didn't. That might be the best D20 rolling card I've seen, maybe. And I decided I didn't even want to play with that, did I? So... Planar ally, when it attacks, enter the dungeon. 14, bloody hell. You know, when I saw this, you start with this in play in the tutorial, don't you? And when I saw it in the tutorial, my brain just assumed it probably cost about 8 mana. 14, way too expensive for that. Way too expensive, you know? Oh, you know, I understand it's got to be literally 4 times crapper than the Fiendslayer Paladin by law. Plate armor. This creature gets +3/+3. Well, thank God it's +3/+3 and it's not getting +0/+X, because we wouldn't have liked that. For 10 mana with equip 1. It's not great. When your opponent casts a spell that targets your first creature, disable the first spell card. Yeah, they're not getting it, are they? They're not getting this kind of protection thing. It's too late. Your opponent has killed your creature. There's no point putting a halt on the next spell that comes along. It's the spell that comes along and kills it that you need to stop. It's bad design. We've seen a few of these and it's been bad design. So yeah, not interested. Plundering Barbarian. Well, he's going to get a surprise. If that's a mimic, he's going to get blood all over his face, isn't he? Hacking into a chest like that. When this creature enters the battlefield, destroy an opposing artifact support if you can't create a gold token. Absolute garbage. Power of Persuasion. Roll a d20. I like the picture. I'm ready. I'm not ready. Yeah, little Warcraft 2 thing for you there. If your opponent has 5 or less cards in hand, return target creature your opponent controls to his owner's hand. 11 to 19, return target opposing creature to the top of its owner's library. 20, gain control of it until the end of your next turn. Oh, that's a shame, isn't it? I mean, I know that, all right, yes, I realise that we're generally discounting the 20s on the roll. But what... It's kind of really bad. The 20 is kind of really bad. What you want out of a roll, what you want out of a d20 roll is an effect you can depend on, which is to get rid of the creature that's in play, you know. And 20 doesn't actually do that. One's got a, you know, you can expect the bounce effect with, you know, with the same. I don't mind these bounce effects that where your opponent needs 5 cards. Again, they're not tier 1 removal, but they can be quite useful, and I do like playing with Harbinger of the Tide still every so often. So, you know, 1 to 10, you're getting rid of a creature. 11 to 19, you're getting rid of a creature. 20, you're not actually getting rid of that creature, you know, because you're gaining control of it, but it comes back under his control. So I don't like that. And even though it's not going to happen most of the time, still don't like it. Still, it's a removal spell. It's a bouncy removal spell. It costs 8 mana. That seems high for a bouncy removal spell. Yeah. I'm not going to be playing with that. Precipitous Drop. Venture into the dungeon. Target opponent creature gets -2/-2. Well, I like the fact it's getting -2/-2 permanently. You know, that's I dearly love to see Octagon really push effects that permanently give cards -X/-X. But having said that, I'm still not sure any of them are ever going to be good enough for me to play with, you know. Certainly a spell that gives something -X/-X. Any spell I cast at a creature that might kill it, but is probably going to let it live, I'm probably never going to be happy with, you know. Permanents that permanently reduce the power and toughness of a creature, maybe in a repeatable way. We'd be able to talk about those depending on what they're like. If you have dungeon spoils, target opposing creature gets -5/-5. Yeah. It's not enough. If it can't kill a thing, we don't care. It should just say -5/-5, frankly. Fuck it, you know? Let it kill any common or uncommon. So what? Predator Ooze. Nice. I love the name. It's a decent size for a decent cost. It's got prevent damage. That's always good. I don't see any text written on the card that's removing the prevent damage. So I'm getting quite excited now. This creature can't block. We don't care. Creatures can't block anyway. When this creature attacks, increases card's level by 2. When this card's level is increased, gets +X/+X. Interesting. Okay, so it's attacking. First time it attacks, it goes up to level 2. It becomes a 6/6. Second time it attacks. Oh no, it goes up to level 3. It goes from 1 to level 3. First time it attacks, goes up to level 3. Becomes a 7/7. Second time it attacks, goes up to level 5. becomes a 12/12. I mean, that's all solid, isn't it? There is nothing. Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. So the can't block thing. Yeah. Fair enough. That's to stop the prevent damage being relevant. And so as a result, the prevent damage, unfortunately, is not a very exciting thing to have written on the card. Because frankly, should be big enough to work its way through defenders, shouldn't it? It gets large quickly. Is it better than the Quartzwood Crusher? That's what we always say. Is it even better than Kazundu? What's it called? And it's probably no. You know, one really key thing about Quartzwood Crusher, which is nearly its name, and I can't be bothered to learn what its name exactly is. One key thing about it is that it splits itself up into two creatures, you know? So somebody has to kill two creatures to get it off the table. Somebody only has to kill one creature to get this Predator Ooze off the table. You know, prevent damage means it can't get burned, but who cares? Because burn is shit. You shouldn't be scared of burn. You don't deserve to be playing in with the big boys if you're worried about burn spells getting rid of your creatures, because they're terrible. It's a decent creature. It's a decent playable creature. It gets large, nice and fast. It's not quite top tier. Prosperous Innkeeper. 6 mana 2/2. Oh great, it's an orchard spirit with a load of completely irrelevant things printed on it. Should we see what the completely irrelevant things are? Create a single gold token when it enters the board. Yeah, that's a completely irrelevant thing. When another creature enters the battlefield, gain 2 life. This effect can trigger up to 4 times per turn. Yeah. It's an orchard spirit with a load of completely irrelevant things printed on it. Purple Worm. God, it seems weird seeing the word worm written like that, doesn't it? You see it with a U all the bloody time in Magic. Almost never see worm with an O. Seems strange, doesn't it? It's got ward, which we probably don't care about. If this card is in your hand, you gain some extra mana to put it into play with. Yeah, it's common. It's large, it's too expensive. Ward's not going to make a difference. We don't care. Hello, nice cheap, level based, mana fielding, quest for the Nile Stone. Mana field. Your opponent discards the last card without mana from their hand. Oh, well. I mean, it's not really achieving anything, discarding the last card without mana from their hand. Then increase this card's level by 1. When your opponent discards a card, venture into the dungeon. Okay. At the end of each player's turn, if your opponent has no cards in hand, they lose 4 life for each of this card's levels. Yeah, don't think I like it. I mean, you can trigger it. Presumably, you can only trigger it once a turn, yeah? It's leveled. Let's assume you are. Let's assume you trigger this card every single turn. You venture into the dungeon, which is mostly irrelevant. It's, you know, little boons, but mostly irrelevant, we think. And they're losing 4 life for each level. Okay, so it starts at level 1. 4 life, 8 life. But only if they have no cards in their hand. You actually have to beat them down to 0 cards. I mean, it's going to give somebody playing with a Song of Creation a shock, isn't it? When you make them discard that last card in their hand. But, you know, there are ways around that now. I notice a lot of people playing Song of Creation decks with, what's her name now? Kasmina. And of course, she's doing a lot of learning at the end of the turn. So it's not even a given these days that somebody playing with Song of Creation will have only one card in their hand. My instinct is not to like this card. You know? Yeah. Perhaps I'd be proven wrong, but my instinct is not to like it. Ranger class. When the support enters the board, create a wolf token. That will be a 2/2. When your first creature token attacks each turn. Okay, so again, that's triggering every single turn. Not on the turn you play it. It's not got haste. It's only your first creature token. So the Paladin class, which costs less than this, was triggering every time that creature attacked, wasn't it? What was their Paladin? What was the... it wasn't triggering every single time a creature attacked, was it? Oh, it was a creature with a basic evergreen ability. So it basically is triggering every single time you attack with a creature. You just have to make sure that you build your deck, which is quite easy to do with basic evergreen abilities. This is only triggering off a single one of your token creatures. We don't like that, do we? 14 mana. If this card's level is 2 or more, draw a card. If it's a creature card, gain 3 mana. That's not enough. I mean, strictly speaking, you could have multiple copies of this card in play. Do I really want to be putting a Ranger class down to gain 3 mana? You know, it's only 5 more mana to get Old Normones into play. And he's giving you 3 mana, a lot more than that. Beginning of combat on your turn. If the card's level is 3 or more, your first creature gets +4/+4. Yeah, it's all very unimpressive, Ranger class. Now that we've seen what classes can do with the Paladin, I'm not interested in the Ranger. Sod off, Ranger. Ranger's Hawk. Beginning of your turn, you may disable other target creature you control. If you do, venture into the dungeon. Yeah, don't like it at all. Fuck it. Just venture every turn. Why not? Venture into the dungeon every turn. It's not broken, is it? Make it do that. For 4 mana. Why not have a 4 mana 1/1? You know, I don't like taking up creature slots, as you know, but if I'm only going to spend 4 mana, you know, I'm not on. It's not a clock dealing its 1 damage. Make it do all the venturing. It dies easily. The Adventurer. Ranger's Longbow. Oh, here we go with the 1 equip cost again. On the board, your first creature gets +2/+1 and gains reach. Really not interested in anything that's got to say. Rogue class. Back down to an 11 cost. When a creature you control deals combat damage to your opponent's Planeswalker, destroy the top card of your opponent's library, which of course is nothing. When a card enters your opponent's graveyard for the first time on turn. Okay, so that's increase the card's level by 1. Okay, so even though we're not interested in the act of destroying the top cards of your opponent's library, what it does mean is that every single turn, when some creatures attack, you're increasing this card's level by 1. If its level is 4 or more, you may pick 1 of the first 4 cards from your opponent's graveyard. Fetch that card, it gains half its mana. This card's really trying to make me care about the fact that I've been milling my opponent, and it's not doing a bad job. I'll be honest. I'm just plugging in my charger because I'm not. I don't really feel like finishing doing the stream anytime. So I know this has been a long one so far. We're coming up to 3 hours, aren't we? But honestly, I don't really care about finishing. I'm just going to keep going at the moment. If you all have somewhere to be, you know, you can always catch up with the stream non-live at a later point. Anyway, so every time a creature attacks, this is going up one level. I mean, that's kind of the thing, isn't it? Even though it's going up 1 level every turn, we've got to wait 4 turns before we get this effect, this nice effect where we're choosing one of our opponent's cards and it's gaining some of its and then they've given it a little octagon at the end, you know. Cards level is 5 or more, your creatures gain menace, as if we give a toss about that. Yeah, I basically don't care. It's at level 4, isn't it? That's the problem. It's doing like the Zareth-san. Didn't Zareth-san just do it? Yeah, he attacked with haste, no less. Grabbed a card out of your opponent's graveyard. I suppose he didn't actually drop the card into your graveyard. Yeah, it just takes too long. The good bit is, of course, well, in fact, the only effect, really, when you wade through this card, the only effect of it is the effect that happens at level of 4, and it takes a bit too long to actually get that going. I suppose there are cards, aren't there, that I'm just thinking that increase the levels of other cards, aren't there? That doesn't make this good at all. No, don't like it. Sign of Stygia. 2/1, 5 mana. Enters the battlefield, roll a d20. Disable target opposing creature till end of turn. Disable target opposing creature at the beginning of your next turn. Right. Pointless. Needlessly complicated. The good bit is its second ability. If it did its second ability all the time, it still wouldn't be too powerful, you know. We've had a... Madren likes these. We've had plenty of creatures recently that... We had a 6 mana 2/2, didn't we? Came into play, disabled target creature until the beginning of your next turn. All of these extra words they've written on with a d20 just make it so unreliable that there's no point playing with it. Because disable target opposing creature until end of turn doesn't really do anything. And that's half the effect. It's bad. When this creature blocks, venture into the dungeon. Nope. 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 Terrible. Shambling Ghast. It's a 6 mana 2/2. It has Berserk when it dies. Well, it's going to do that pretty soon. Because it is small. If your opponent controls more creatures than you, their first opposing reinforce... Jesus Christ, what a piece of shit. I find that offensive. It's the amount of design there is on that card, considering what it does. I find that its existence offensive. Shesra! Hello, Shesra. When this creature enters the battlefield, target opposing creature gains Defender. Okay. I mean, if an opposing creature is gaining Defender, I'd rather that one of my creatures wasn't a 2/4, because I feel like the 2/4 is going to smack into that opposing creature and die. Morbid. At the end of your turn, draw a card. It gains 5 mana. Then you lose 5 life. No. Nope. 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 Shortcut Seeker. When this creature deals combat damage, venture into the dungeon. Again, seems a bit expensive, you know. We had that. I wouldn't mind spending 4 mana. Well, I probably would mind spending 4 mana to, when it attacks, and venture into the dungeon all the time. 10 definitely seems too much to venture into the dungeon every turn. Way too much. Skeletal Swarming. I like the name. While on the board, your skeleton creatures gain Berserker and Trample. Okay, I understand skeleton creatures are 1/1s with Defender, aren't they? Pretty sure that's what they are. So having Berserker really doesn't make much difference. When a skeleton creature you control attacks, that creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each skeleton you control, including their reinforcements. Right, so it's doubling up the power of the skeletons. attacks. Whenever it attacks. Feels like you could just put more skeletons into play and not have that sentence. Yeah? Doesn't it? Why not just put more skeletons into play, just have less words on the card? And have basically the same effect. I suppose for pack tactics, yep. Well done. There's a nifty piece of design there, Octagon. Well done, you. At the end of your turn, create 2 skeleton tokens. Morbid, create 3 skeleton tokens instead. So what I think I'm looking at here is a card that creates a chump blocker every turn, and that intrigues me. I'm definitely interested by that. It's not as good as, say, From Beyond, but From Beyond is, of course, a legacy card. You know, that used to cost 9 mana. You'd only get 1/1 with Defender, but that, it was a Scion, so it generated mana when it died. But like I say, that's a legacy card. This is a standard card. You drop in a chump blocker in play every single turn. It's a 2/2, but it's always doubling up in power whenever it attacks. Oh, right, okay, fair enough, I see. Because it only doubles up in power when it attacks. So you drop 2 skeletons into play, that's a 2/2 Defender. It's attacking with 4 power, but it's defending with 2 power. Obviously not as good. It feels like it's just going to do a lot of chumping. I mean, this type of card is my bag. You know, non-creature cards that give you a continuous string of creatures is kind of my bag. You know, the fact that they defend. I mean, you know, it's going to stop a Gaia's Revenge till the cards come home, isn't it? The cards come home? Till the cows come home. But, yeah, I don't know. I'm not excited. I'm not excited by it. It's a relevant card. It feels like it does relevant things. Fair enough. When this creature enters the battlefield, create a gold token. When a treasure sport you control is destroyed, draw a card. Yeah. It's a thing. Slumbering Dragon. Am I slowing down? I feel like I'm slowing down for the evening. We're only at S. There's probably a few. So I think what we'll do is, let's call it a day at 10 o'clock. That's very arbitrary, isn't it? Why not call it a day now? I'll call it a day at 10 o'clock. We'll do 5 minutes. And we'll have what's presumably going to be a quite short part 4 tomorrow night, same time. So, yeah, but I feel my energy levels beginning to drop. So let's have a look through just a few final cards tonight. Thanks you all for coming in. And, yeah, do part 4, which won't be as mammoth as this one. Start that tomorrow. Let's see what this guy does. It can't attack and it can't block. Well, what fucking good is it then if it can't attack and it can't block? When a player ventures into the dungeon, it gets +2/+2. Doesn't matter how big it is, if it can't attack and it can't block, then increase this card's level by 1. Right, so it's not doing it. Something else has to venture into the dungeon in order to increase its card's level by 1. When this card's level becomes 5, it loses can't attack and can't block, gains Berserker and Double Strike and Trample. It's all about how long it takes, doesn't it? You've got to venture into the dungeon 5 times. 4 times, sorry. By that point, it is a 7, 9, 11, 13 creature with Double Strike, Berserker and Trample. I mean, that seems big enough to survive a lot of things and kill a lot of things and deal a lot of damage. by the time it gets that big. But you do have to venture into the dungeon quite a lot of times. Do I care? Do I care about waiting? It is only 7 mana. My feeling is no. My feeling is it's just going to sit in play for too long, waiting to get shot. You know? Your Fiend Slayer Paladin is, of course, what's powering it up through the dungeon. Hopefully, over 2 turns, it'll do some double striking, giving this 2 levels each turn. But then, of course, if that guy gets shot, this guy's level stops going up. I don't know. I'm not. It's Johnny. It's Johnny-tastic, and I don't think I'm interested. Who pulled it for a Gauze? Pulled the Slumbering Dragon for 120 pinks. Oh, good value. Anyway, yeah, you might be a bit more annoyed at it, mightn't you, if you had to pay 400 for it. Yeah, I'm not going to be playing with that, I don't think. Sorcerer class. Oh, okay. Maybe this is the one that people have been talking about. Let's have a look, shall we? Is it colours? I like the Is it. I'm a fan. It's got some magecraft going on. Let's see what happens. When this support enters the board, discard 2 cards, then draw 3 cards. Those cards gain 4 mana. So you play it, you're discarding 2 cards. Then you're drawing 3 cards. Now I'm just going to assume, I probably shouldn't, but I'm going to assume that as long as you have any cards to discard, you're going to draw 3 and they all get 4 mana. I would suspect if you have no cards, I would suspect if this is the last card in your hand, with featuring Octagon's famous then clause, maybe you don't draw 3 cards and they don't gain any mana, but maybe if as long as you can discard at least 1 card, maybe you do. Let's assume that's how it works. Magecraft 2 increases cards level by 1. That's not too awful. You know? As you're going along, casting your spells, this thing's level is increasing. Maybe not as good as this thing's level increasing, say, as you attack. But I guess it's okay. If this card's level is 3 or more, deal 3 damage to opponent's planeswalker. We don't care. When a creature you control attacks, if this card's level is 5 or more, first spell card in your hand gains X mana. X is the number of creatures you control. Not a whole lot. Probably 1 mana when it attacks. Oh, maybe this isn't the class that everyone was getting excited about. The support enters the board. Discard 2. I'm scanning through it to see if I've missed something really important, because I'm feeling underwhelmed by this. Obviously, I don't mind drawing 3 cards and putting 4 mana into all of them. That's okay. I don't think it's great. It's just, you know, it's what 12 mana is worth, isn't it? You're spending 12 mana, you're getting 12 mana back. That mana is spread around all different cards, making it difficult for you to get the advantage of all 12 mana very quickly. Yeah, I kind of don't like it, actually. I don't think I like it. Magecraft 2, increase it. Yeah, no, don't like that. Not interested. Right, it's gone past 10 o'clock now. As I say, I can feel my energy. Oh, it's Wizard. Right, okay. See, I was really staring at that card, Madren, who's just told me in the chat that it's not Sorcerer class that I should be getting excited about. It's the Wizard class. It's the actual named Wizard class, not this enchantment class Wizard that is Sorcerer class. Because I was really looking around it saying, everyone was talking about this, weren't they? Are they all mad? Have they all gone insane? Because it looks kind of bad. But no, apparently it is bad. There wasn't anything hidden on this card. Well, I guess we'll get to that tomorrow then. In that case, 12 or 12 isn't very good. Yep. Okay, thanks for coming in, everyone. It's been quite busy. You know, I've had, 3, 4, 5 people in the room. pretty much every time I've been on. So we've had a bit of fun, haven't we, this time around? There are still, I'm going to say, a few cards. It literally might only be half an hour, the next one, if that. I'll find something else to talk about, maybe, who knows. So yeah, I suspect the next one's going to be short, but as I say, I don't feel that I can keep going today. So thanks for everyone for dropping in. 6 o'clock UTC again tomorrow. That is in 24 minus 3 is 21 hours time. There you go. If everyone's been saying they don't do UTC, they want me to do it in Mathsy. So in Mathsy, in 21 hours time, that's when we're going to get the rest of the set. And you'll take care now. Until then, all sleep tightsy. And I shall close this thing down, however that works. All right, bye-bye. I'm waving at the screen like you can see that. You can't see that. Bye-bye, everybody.